C10 Talk, episode 108. Brandon Sisco Fab. His story, it's about as crazy as some of the stuff he builds. So sit back, hold on, and enjoy the ride.
Perseverance, never give up. I never gave up on anything from where I was at, and that's what you always need to do is just move forward from where you are. No matter where you're at, just go to the next step and keep going. No matter how slow it is, I just always worked through everything and dug myself out of every hole I've ever been in and kept moving forward.
Damn, son. When you think air suspension for your build, you think AccuAir. Whether it's the ease of their plug-and-play installation, the E-level touchpad, or their new Endo platform, it's better by design, and it's zero compromise for you and your truck. AccuAir. Whether you're looking to replace your original steering, update those old brakes, or improve your suspension and handling, Classic Performance Products has got your classic truck covered. Check them out at classicperform.com. That's classicperform.com. BrothersTrucks.com is your number one source for 1947 to 87 Chevy and GMC restoration parts. Head on over to BrothersTrucks.com and order your free catalog today. Dakota Digital, for the best in universal and direct fit gauges. They are the leader in aftermarket instrument systems, so check them out at dakotadigital.com.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 Truck podcast. Here's your host, Ronnie Wetch.
All right. What up, C10 Nation? Oh, boy. A little Cisco love and a few updates. I tell you what, man, this guy, a lot of perseverance, a lot of ups and downs, and this guy just keeps grinding, literally. He makes it happen. The stuff he builds is so rad. Crew cabs and Blazers converted to Tahoes and some of the sickest trucks out there. The story is rad. The dude is rad. And it's literally, I wrote a thing for the Builder's Guide, Street Truck C10 Builder's Guide a little while back, and it was kind of essentially behind the truck, you know, the stories behind the truck. And I love VH1 Behind the Music.
This is the story behind the music.
This story is no different than that. I mean, the trials, tribulations, struggles, the ups, the downs, the ins, the outs. And Brandon Sisco is part of it. You're going to hear. I mean, there's death, there's divorce, there's fire, and Brandon just kind of like a phoenix rising from the ashes and just keeps on grinding, keeps on keeping on, and keeps on trucking. So you are going to like this show. I had an absolute blast sitting down with Brandon, and I appreciate his time because he is a busy dude, but it was something I kind of kept on with him, kind of kept giving him a hard time, and we made it happen. So hope you enjoy show 108. Please don't forget to rate and review us. Pass it on to your brother, your sister, your mother, anybody out there who might want to listen to Brandon's story. It's a great story, and I'm happy to bring it to you from the C10 Talk world. Some notes that I have. Let's see here. Spotify. So finally did my update, and I had submitted a while back, but for whatever reason, it looks like it didn't make it, and then I resubmitted and it made it. And what's cool is I kind of expected it to just be like from now, current, moving forward. I went back in and pretty much they're all linked over. So I've been getting a lot of requests for C10 Talk to be available on Spotify. A lot of people are on Spotify, and we're stoked about that. So you guys can check us out on Spotify. Let everybody know we're on there. We're also simultaneously on YouTube now as well. So if you're sitting at work and you want to listen on YouTube, you can listen on YouTube. The only thing about YouTube is it looks like it's only from like 107. I'm going to go back and see if I can somehow change that to all the other shows where I can put them or essentially deliver them over to YouTube. but we'll see how that works out. But Spotify, YouTube, we're out there now, so this show should be on both of those options, and that's cool because the more we can bring you the pod, the better. Precision Replacement Parts is on board now. Now they're going to be the primary sponsor, one of the primary sponsors with US Mags on the First Ride Friday. So if you hadn't had a chance to listen to First Ride Friday number 4, which is Brandon, please go back and do that. That was kind of what we did before we got into this episode. So it's a little long for our First Ride Friday. I'm trying to keep those around 15-20, but again, Brandon's story, the truck, the build, the process, what the truck kind of enabled him to do, and then what he became because of the truck. So First Ride Friday number 4, Brandon Sisco, check that out. And again, that's brought to you by Precision Replacement Parts and US Mags, and I just want to welcome Precision Replacement Parts on board for that. So it's always cool when you get great companies behind you, so check that out. A few shows to talk about. Let's see here, let me switch over. I know there's that All Squared Up in Georgia this weekend, so August 11th this weekend. It looks like it's in Dawsonville, Georgia, and All Squared Up. It's going to be at the Georgia Racing Hall of Fame. I thought it was kind of at some fairgrounds or something here, but check that out. I know Southeast Square Bodies just texted me or sent me that, linked that over. So if you're out there in that Georgia area and you got a square body and you want to hit up the All Squared Up, you can do that August 11th, which is this Saturday, so you guys can make it out there if you're looking for a feed on that. I think there is something online, but he sent me his picture, and I talked about it earlier. Hit up Instagram, Southeast Square Bodies. Another show the following weekend that I just got was Severed in the Midwest, and that's going to be August 18th and 19th. That's going to be in southern Indiana. It looks like it's at the Horseshoe Casino in southern Indiana. So Severed in the Midwest. You guys can check that out. That's August 18th and 19th. And then we also got another one here, a little early here, but October 6th is going to be the Upstate South Carolina GM Truck Club. Upstate South Carolina GM Truck Club. I know the real Brian Allen will be part of that, and the C10 Club South Carolina. But that'll be October 6th, which is a Saturday, Lake Cooley at Inman, South Carolina. I'll probably drop a few more things on that one because we are a little early on it. But I know I think their 5th year, so that one's cranking and doing well. A few other show notes. Looks like Adam from Adam's Polishes is going to be next. He and we actually had it scheduled, and then I ended up having to go to a funeral, so I had to reschedule him. So he's been real good about working with me on that, and we'll get Adam rescheduled. So he should be next, Adam from Adam's Polishes. If you have any specific questions, depending on when this actually gets out and when I interview him, I've got a pretty good docket ready for him, getting to know Adam a little bit, and then we'll also roll that into some serious tech because what they do over there at Adam's Polishes is pretty rad, and that'll be a good one to get out to you guys. You know, taking care of your trucks. I'm sure your primary vehicle too, your daily, but a little washing, waxing, detailing, some of the stuff that they do, and happy to sit down with Adam. So that'll be up next. And that's really it, you guys. Please share the pod, rate the pod, review the pod. Let us know how we're doing. If you got car shows out there you want me to announce over the pod, send me an email, Ronnie at C10 Talk. If you've got a guest you just got to have, you got a question, hit me up, Ronnie at C10 Talk, RONNIE at C10Talk.com, and we'll be happy to do that for you guys. All right, guys, great week. Stay out of trouble. Late. Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't push record. We did a little intro there. We started going. A little Brandon Cisco kid, Sisco Fab. Definitely honored to have Brandon on 108. We got to know him a little bit on the first ride. Brandon, welcome to C10 Talk, my brother.
How you doing, Ryan? I guess all the listeners are gonna miss out on all those secrets I just gave out.
Oh my God! Well, yeah, we can just jump right into that. We talked a little bit about if your friends were calling you Cisco as a kid.
Yeah, and I went by Cisco pretty much the whole 3/4 of my life. I think it started when I was a little kid. I had a friend in the neighborhood named Brandon, And we were the only two Brandons in school, so they called him Brandon and called me Cisco. So I grew up as Cisco, and when it was time to move to Arizona, people started calling me Brandon, and it was weird.
Yeah, you're like, who the hell's Brandon?
Yeah, it's still strange because I've always just been Cisco.
Well, Cisco's got to be one of the coolest names out there. I mean, do you think you realized even how cool that name is? I mean, as a young lad?
No, I always thought it was weird.
Oh, man.
I was like my friends that had regular names, and then my name just seemed weird to me.
Jones and Smith and Montgomery, and you're like, I'm a Cisco. Yeah.
It's funny you say Montgomery because that's my wife's maiden name is Montgomery.
Yeah, that was random. I didn't obviously know that. I think it's so cool as kids. We talked a little bit about it earlier. It's like, for me, growing up playing a lot of sports, you got your last name is always taped on your back of your jersey, the front of your helmet, whatever it might be. So you grow up with so many people just calling you by your last name. And, and then I guess you get into adulthood or the working world, and you go by your first name, or your friends call you by your first name, or every now and then you see if I see my old high school buddies, we call each other by the last name still to this day. So it's kind of funny. Do you see old friends and they say, "What's up, Cisco"?
Yeah. Sometimes when I go back to Cali, I'll see friends, and it's always Cisco with them. So when I hear Brandon, I know they're not really my friend.
Oh, that's freaking hilarious. Now, you were saying that Brandon is actually your middle name?
Yeah, whenever somebody asks for somebody whenever somebody asks for me and my first name, then I know I really don't know them, especially bill collectors.
Yeah.
Because I don't go by my middle name or my first name, and not many people know my first name.
You going to spill the beans or what?
Nope. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't.
This is like Trey 5 doing that. He won't tell us what Trey 5 is. Kind of the secret within. So I think I'm gonna have to. Let me text Missy, see if she'll give it up. I'll let me see if I can act like I'm gonna act like I know and see if she follows along.
No, that's horrible.
Did you ever have that drink, Cisco, as a kid?
I did not. I have to this day. I've never tasted it.
That shit was for the audience. If you whatever, Cisco was a drink. It was like a wine drink. I don't know how they labeled it or bottled it, but it would knock like you on your ass.
Yeah, it was like a super strong wine cooler or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It was the alcohol content of the drink was, I believe at one point, probably once we got a little older, we were like, hey, this says like 8 servings or something for 8 people, obviously suggested servings, but the alcohol content was high as well. A buddy of mine would drink it and drink a lot of it in high school and get shit-faced off of it, and we called him Cisco Kid. He literally at one point, I remember driving down Main Street in Mesa, and he's like leaning out my buddy's Jeep, throwing up. We thought he was going to fall out. And I think we eventually just said, dude, you're like cut off of this drink. You can't drink it anymore because we're going to get in trouble because you're acting like such a jackass getting so shit-faced off Cisco. I can't remember all the flavors. I do remember orange, and I'll pull it up. Maybe I can pull it up when we're yapping and see what the alcohol content. But I just remember it was too much, more than we should have been drinking.
Oh, there's different flavors of it and everything?
Yeah, I do remember orange for sure. I remember orange and like a grape or a berry style flavor. The other thing that we used to drink, the girls, we would get it for the girls because, of course, you're trying to get lucky, was this stuff called Purple Passion. And Purple Passion was like, I think it came in like a 2-liter bottle, and it was like purple soda with Everclear. And if you could get the girls to start drinking that, you were like, yeah, it's a good night.
Back home, it was the Boone's Farm, the Strawberry Hill. That's what girls all drink back then.
Same. I mean, we definitely had the Boone's Farm going too, but it was like the Boone's Farm was kind of like just the norm. But if you could get them to get into that Everclear, you were like panty drop.
Oh yeah.
All right. So how did Cisco grow up? What's the story? I mean, you're a Cali kid. You got a cool story. How was your family life? What all went down?
Well, let me see. I'm the oldest of all my siblings. My mom and dad were high school sweethearts, and then were divorced when I was about a year old. And my dad moved up Northern California, and my mom joined the Air Force. So I was an Air Force brat for the first few years of my life. My mom was stationed at Luke Air Force Base, actually, here in Phoenix, for a couple years. And she got remarried, and my little brother Derek and my sister Adrian they both still live here, actually, here in Phoenix. At the same time, my dad was remarrying and had my brother Garrett. So I've got a brother Garrett and a brother Derek, and they're about 3 weeks apart in age.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And they are nothing alike. It's crazy. My brother here, he ended up joining the Air Force for 20 years. He just got out a few years ago, and now he's a banker guy for, some bank. And my sister got married and has 3 kids. My brother also has 2 kids. And then my brother back home, Garrett, he's got 2 little boys. And then I also have another sister back home that my dad got married a third time, and has my sister Keela, and she's got a little boy. So my siblings and kids are plenty.
Is it hard to keep track? I mean, are you a close family?
We talk. I mean, we're about as close as you can be without being. We don't talk every day, obviously, but when events come up, we all get together. When I go back to California, we all get together to see those families. We go back there to visit all my plethora of children back home. We do that. But so yeah, I moved around a lot with the Air Force stuff. All the southern states, all the western states, some mid states. Every time my mom would go on a leave or go wherever she would go, I would get shipped off to some other family member and stay there until she came back. So I think by the time I was in 8th grade, I'd been to about 30 schools. I went to
Holy
4
shit.
schools in 6th grade. I went to 4 schools in 6th grade. I know that. So I went to Psychon 3 times. Yeah, I moved around a lot. I always ended up back in Visalia, my hometown, where I was from. But I lived in about 13 states before I was 10 years old.
Now, why wouldn't you just go back with your dad?
I didn't know my dad.
When did you first become acquainted and or move in back with your dad?
At one point, I was shipped to my dad when I was about 7 years old from Florida. My mom put me on a plane, flew me back to Los Angeles, and my dad and my uncle picked me up. And that's the first time I'd met my other brother, Garrett. And I lived with them for a few months, him and his new wife then. And then she came back into town, and so I went back with her again. And I didn't see him again until my mom passed away when I was 11. And I got, I wouldn't say shoved in with him, but that's where I ended up, because he was my next closest kin.
Well, it probably felt that way, right? I mean, you didn't really know him, and I mean, the trauma of going through that, I mean, we kind of have that in common. I've told you, my dad passed away when I was 8, and your mom passed away when you were 11, and kind of crazy because you look back, and kind of all this stuff makes you who you are today.
Yeah, because when I lived with my mom and I lived with a lot of family, since I moved around so much, what kept me sane was cars. I was into cars since I was a little kid, and I built models like crazy. I never built a model that was in the box. I always had 3 or 4 boxes, and I built one model out of all those parts. And then I drew a lot too. I was very artistic. I would draw stuff. I couldn't cartoon draw, and I couldn't do anything like that, but I could draw realistic drawings of cars. So that kind of played into when I got into high school, the building stuff.
Was your dad into cars? Do you think that it sounds like you were already, not coping, but that was your thing. That was your go-to, and maybe coping and dealing with shit. And did your dad, was he into cars or just he wrenched?
No, very much into cars. When I moved in with my dad, he had been divorced from his second wife and had my brother Garrett living with him. And they lived in a single wide trailer in a little town outskirts of town. And so I moved in with him, and he worked at a cable company digging ditches. And it was just me and my brother and my dad and his big lifted 69 Chevy Blazer. And we would literally, payday would get there. He would say, what do you guys want to do? You want to go to the coast? You want to go camping? Or you want to go grocery shopping? And we would always say the coast or camping or buy a go-kart or something. And we would eat top ramen and homemade donuts so we could do that. And he would do it. And that's what we did every weekend is he'd work all week and then we'd head to the beach for a weekend, or we'd head to the mountain camp, or we'd go river ratting. You know, we'd go take the Blazer out to the river and just four-wheel all day long. Or he'd let us buy motorcycles, and we'd buy, you know, we had go-karts and we'd build bicycles, and it was just dad and his two boys. That was us.
Sounds like a big kid.
Yeah, he was a huge kid. Like, he raced, he always had dune buggies and Odysseys back in the day and dirt bikes, and he would race mud bogs with his Jeep. He had a 47 high hood CJ3 with a Buick V6 in it, and that's what he'd race that at the mud bogs at the corner of the fairgrounds, or he'd race the mud bogs in the fairgrounds, or he would do sand drags or anything like that. We would always do all that stuff. Every weekend we were going somewhere doing something having to do with cars, or going fast, or four-wheeling. One of the fun things we loved doing was we'd gather up all of his friends, and the opening season of snow where we lived, they would open the gates, and we would go as far as we could up into the hills on the roads through the snow until we couldn't go any further. And then that's where we would play for the day, snow, and then turn around and come back. It'd be 20 or 30 trucks.
Well, it sounds like obviously your mom passing was very negative and just a shitty deal, but the time for you to be a young man and be with your dad ended up being really a positive thing from a negative situation.
Very, very much so. I took the first 10 years of my mom raising me with instilling the values, and, you know, a lot of my personality comes from my mom. Just getting through life in general. And then a lot of the other stuff all came from my dad, my work ethic, all that kind of stuff. He was a very hard worker.
Yeah, that's, my son, you know, you think back and that's one thing I always kind of look back at how life would be. I was talking to Dell, we were up in Canada, and it's like, you just kind of wonder how your life would be, you know, if, you know, my dad, for example, wouldn't have passed away, your mom, and it would not be the same. It would obviously be drastically different because you moved back with your dad. I moved to Arizona. We would never have moved. If my dad would still be alive, I would still be in Montana. There's no way that I would be where I am. How did you get to Arizona? How did that kind of shake back out?
Well, when I went through high school, I ended up taking a metal shop class and auto shop classes so I could build my first truck that I talked about earlier. And in the midst of all that, since my artistic ability, my drawing stuff came about, during one of the classes, we had to make a wireframe drawing on this new program called AutoCAD. And we had to draw something simple and then plot it out on paper and then go out in the shop and make it out of like 1/4-inch rod and braze it together and hang it on the wall. That was like one of our projects. So in between class, I got addicted to that AutoCAD program, and I started drawing on it all day. Like every time I had free time, I would be in the metal shop class drawing on this program. I got to the point where I was drawing everything in 3D, multiple layers, colors. I mean, I was drawing full portraits of all this stuff, and people are drawing stick figures. And so my teachers were like, "Hey, you know, you got a knack for this. You should do something with it." my auto shop teacher and my metal shop teacher got together and they got a hold of ITT Tech down here in Phoenix. At the time, there was only 3 schools. There was one in Phoenix, one in Aurora, Colorado, and one in Southern California. And I said the one in Phoenix would be the best because I had family down here. My brother and sister lived here, my stepdad. So they talked to them. They got me a testing down here. So a friend of mine came with me. We drove down here. I was only 17 at the time, just starting my senior year. And so I took the testing, and I tested. They told me that I tested the highest on the placement test that anybody ever tested at the school.
They changed it. It's called the Cisco test now.
Yeah, so they named it after me. They actually named it my first name, but I can't say what that is.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go sign up to see if I can. You have to get the 100% or better to get to find out what the name is.
So they said, yes, we want you here. They gave me not a full ride scholarship, but a pretty good scholarship because I couldn't afford to, go to school down here. And but I was still 17, so I couldn't go to school yet. So I had to wait 6 months until the next semester, until my birthday and everything. So in that meantime, I finished my truck, and then it's time to move down here. So 2 of my friends wanted to go to school down here too, so we all roomed up together and got an apartment down here on 16th Street in Glendale, or 16th Street in Northern, actually, over there. It's kind of by where John Trevino's shop is, where the auto, whatever the place is. We got an apartment right there, and we all worked there at a couple gas stations and food places all around while I went to school. And then I worked out at the airport, Sky Harbor, for UPS at night, and went to school during the day.
Busy. I mean, you sound like you kind of crazy to think that you left and leave California at that young age to think I'm going to go to ITT Tech. You know what I mean? Yeah,
it was strange for me moving down here and going to that school. One of the hardest parts for me is actually kind of funny. Before I could come down here to do a school, I had to take a prerequisite at the community college of mechanical drawing and a computer class, like a beginner AutoCAD class. So for that 6 months that I was still in town back home, I took a mechanical drawing class to learn some of the terminology, and I took the computer class to get some of the prerequisite out of the way of the CAD design program. So that when I came down and we started our labs at school, and the funny story, the teacher comes over and he was like, hey, this is, Brandon, blah, 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 all this stuff. He's a new student, youngest student to be enrolled in the school and all this stuff. And so, I wouldn't say he said I was like some kind of prodigy or anything, but he was telling everybody that I was like this big shot kid, And so we start this lab, and I'm just sitting there at my computer, little thing, nothing's happening on the screen. Everybody's doing all their stuff. And he walks over and he was like, we need you to get started. And I'm like, okay, well, how do you turn it on? He started laughing, and he was, how do you turn it on? I was like, how do you turn the computer on? Because I'd never turned a computer on before in my life. Every class I'd ever taken, the computers are on at the desk when you sit down. So I didn't know you had to reach behind and push the button and do this and turn the screen on and blah, blah, blah. And so everybody was laughing at me, gave me a hard time about it forever after that.
You're going to run out of class. You're like, well, my mommy, I freaking, he built you all up. And then you're like, shit, I don't even know how to turn this damn thing on.
Exactly. Everybody was like, oh, the prodigy kid can't even turn the fucking computer on.
Yeah, he probably said this is called the Clyde test if you guys get 100%, because Brandon won't tell us. I'm just going to start calling you Clyde, figure it out eventually. But so you did you know at that point, like, what you wanted to do with it? I mean.
Yeah, I did. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and that was I wanted to be a clay model designer for General Motors.
Nice. That would be rad.
That was my goal at 18 years old. I wanted to work for GM. I wanted to build the concept cars, and I wanted to do the clay models and build that stuff by hand, like right there in the studio. That's what I wanted to do. But after a few months of class, and me being really, really bad at math, really good at geometry, really good at all the other stuff, but really horrible at math. Not even bad at math, really. What they told me is they thought I was cheating on a lot of stuff because I would always have the right answer, but I could never explain why I got it right or how I got it right. So I would get A+, 100% on every one of my drawings in school. I've never got anything less than 100% on any drawing ever in college. I have all of them still in a file here somewhere, but all 100%. But I almost failed every single written math test because I wouldn't show my work.
Yeah.
And I could never explain to them that I could just see it differently in my brain versus showing it how you're taught on paper. You know, it was one of those things that I just couldn't figure out. And then once I started talking to guys that were coming in for free refresher courses, these guys are all coming in making $13 to $15 an hour drawing on this stuff. And I just couldn't see myself sitting behind a desk for 8 hours a day drawing, making $15 an hour as a grown man. And so I got a job working with one of my uncles down in Avondale fixing sprint cars. And so I started working with him, doing body work on sprint cars and doing welding and fixing chassis. And he was paying me like $12 an hour cash. So after a year of school, I dropped out and went to work there, and then ended up moving back to California. Got a job at a shop called Above and Beyond Auto Appearance, and I was just a kind of a little shit boy. Like I, would fix little things here and there, fix dents. I was an apprentice to one of the major body guys, and he taught me a bunch of stuff about metal work, how to straighten dents before you put filler on them, how to weld sheet metal, stuff like that. And I worked my ranks up through the body shop there until I got the job at another shop, working there doing restoration work. I was still only 19, just almost 20, and quit there, went to another body shop, and started doing hard collision work, like chassis swaps and sectioning body panels in and floors and stuff like that for about a year. And all this time doing side work at home in the garage, building up a rapport with people, doing shaving and custom stuff here and there. Never touched airbags yet at this point. And then I got to the point where my side work at home was so busy that I had 15 to 18 cars lined up at my house.
Damn, and son, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And are you saying at my house, at my dad's house, at home, at your pops's?
Me and my first wife, we had a house, and it was like a fourplex. And so I had cars in my garage. I had cars in the driveway behind us. I had 7 or 8 cars on the street in front of our house. I just had cars coming out my yin yang. I mean, there's cars everywhere and more coming. So I finally decided to just stop and open my own shop. And I got the first keys to my shop in 1999 to an actual business with a business license and all the bells and whistles.
How old were you then?
Oh, 99. I was 23, 22 when I quit my job. And then I worked out of my house for a year before I got the actual shop. So yeah, I think I got my business license at 23. And then I opened my first keys to my first shop when I was 24.
What'd you call it? What was the first shop?
It was Cisco Customs with a K. What was crazy is, the first Street Trucks cover that came out with the orange truck on the cover?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because the only reason I know is from when they did their timeline thing. Yeah.
Well, when that cover came out, I had already had business cards made that said Cutting Edge Customs on it. And then that magazine came out, and that was the title of the first issue was Cutting Edge Customs. And I was like, I can't name my shop that now.
Oh, dude. Well, Cisco's Customs with a K is pretty rad.
Yes, I had to throw away all my stuff that said Cutting Edge Customs on it. And so then my father-in-law at the time said, hey, let's use your name, because then it's for business-wise, it comes out a lot nicer, taxes and all that kind of stuff if you have your name in your business. I was like, okay. So they named it Cisco Customs with a K. So that was back when Customs with a K was cool. Kind of like Grant Customs.
Yeah, that's right. There you go, Grant. So Big Bob's like, oh shit. So what was your style at Sisco's Customs? Was it resto? Was it, paint and body? What were you looking to do? What was your goal for that company?
At that time, I hadn't even really touched into the sheet metal stuff at all yet. I was mostly a paint and body guy. So I did a lot of shaving. I did a lot of, mostly just a lot of shaving. I shaved everything for everybody. Like I would shave door handles and lights and grills and bumpers. But I always wanted to add a little touch to them. I'd put a little billet here, a little billet there. I would cut grills up from other cars and make them fit different things. I shaved a lot of taillights on Chevy pickups, roll pans. I did my first airbag job at my house back then on a 72 C10, bagged the front of it. And people were always talking about airbags rubbing on stuff and all that. So when I made all my front cups and clearanced everything, I made sure all my hands fit around the airbag and all that. And back then it was paddle gauges and 1/4-inch airline. So it was, if you wanted to drag on somebody, you better start a block ahead before you start letting it out.
Well, it's crazy to think that you started off with a C10, you bagged it. I assume you're probably working on a lot of OBS and some square body stuff at the shop, or were you doing just cars, trucks, and everything?
Yeah, I was, when I was at my house, I did a lot of just cars and stuff. And then the new shop that I got had a lift in it. So that opened up a whole new world. So this was 99, September of 99 is when I got my keys. And by October of 99, I was bagging my first 99 Chevy pickup. And I hadn't even really seen airbags up until that point. So the guy bought me a brand new truck. I only had a few miles on it. He'd been driving it for, a year or something. So he had, 10,000 miles on it. And he said he wanted to airbag his truck. And so I was like, okay, let's make some cups and we'll C-notch it and build all the stuff. And back then you couldn't buy brackets off the shelf. You couldn't buy cups off the shelf. You can't even buy bags off the shelf. I had to buy bags from like a truck shop place that would sell helper bag kits for towing. Like I had a ginormous shelf that was just full of brackets because I would just take the bags out and throw the brackets on a shelf. And they were just helper bags on the leaf springs. So I started bagging those 99 to 2000 Chevy trucks, and it just turned into like a gold mine, man. I've probably done 150 of that body style truck in my time. I would be reserved to say 150. It might have been more than that. To this day, I've only bagged maybe 2 mini trucks my entire life. I was never a mini trucker, never considered myself a mini trucker at all. All my stuff was always full size.
And just that 99, because it was new at the time, the 99 to 06, 07 Classic, that was your fastball. That was what would come in the shop and guys saw it and loved it. Yeah,
that was the fastball. That was the one that I had the measurements down. I had the kits down. I had everything working good. I got good lift. I got, we started getting into the fast bike stuff where I got into this clique of guys, actually Wicked Ways back in the day in Central Cal. Even Tim from Slam Specialties. Tim was one of my customers back then, before he had anything to do with the company. That whole club and all the other clubs around there, I was the only guy in Central Valley that was doing that. So there was Los Angeles guys, and there was 1 or 2 guys up north, like Sacramento, San Francisco, and then in the valley, all there was Brett at Cuts R Us in Porterville. There was me in Visalia, and there was Jeff at KRZ Customs in Fresno. And 3 of us were friends, and we had 3 shops within, 45 miles of each other, and we were the only ones doing it. There was an actual shop. There was no other physical shops in the area doing that kind of work. So we kind of had I was booked for a year out most of the time.
Was any OBS stuff coming in, or was it just really all NBS? All
NBS. I did a couple OBSs, a couple of red extended cabs, a couple of regular cabs, a few S10s, and those would be considered my mini truck. Would be the S10s that I've done.
Yeah.
I I never did an import truck. I've never bagged a Mazda. I've never bagged a Mitz. I've never bagged a Nissan. I've only done one Toyota in my life. So S10s and full-size Chevys were my thing. I did a lot of C10s with square bodies too.
So you're on top of the world. Your shop's booming. Cisco Customs with a K. You're kicking ass. I mean, you had to be networking like a mofo. You're meeting people. Trucks are coming in. Trucks are going out. What are you driving at the time?
What was I driving at that time?
All your customers 99 to 06s?
I was driving all of their trucks.
Yeah, no shit. You're like, I got to drive them to get them home. I got to shake them down. I got to make sure they're good to go.
100%. That's what I did. I would drive one for a couple of days after I was done with it, and then by the time I was giving it back to the customer, the next one was ready to drive. So at the time, it was just me and one guy at my shop, and we were busting out a truck every couple weeks. Kind of slow, but we always had 5 or 6 going on at a time. Plus, I had body work I was doing, a lot of shaving, all that kind of stuff. And then we started going to the car shows in 2000 and 2001, and we were rolling to the show like 10 trucks deep with my logos on them. We're going to Rezo, going to KRZ River Run, we're going to a lot of shows down in Los Angeles area. But just a little shop, and we were pulling in, 10, 12 trucks at a time. And then we started getting into the fast bag stuff, and I was very known for popping a lot of airbags at all the shows because I would try to push everything to the limit. And at the time, I think the hopping stuff was just starting to come into effect, and I was at the top. I was close to the top of all of it. Devious, they had an S10 that was pretty badass back then that we were competing with some of the stuff we were doing, but all the stuff I was building was all full sizes. And we were pulling full size trucks off the ground, just on Firestone bags and Parker valves. And that's kind of how all of the that's how Slam came to be.
Just with like internal bump stops or what?
Well, Slam Specialties, the company Slam Specialties wouldn't exist without me. I did all the R&D and a lot of the design on Slam bags. When they were made for me specifically.
Did they have internal bumps back then or no? Just they were thicker?
No, the internal bump stops was my idea. The dual ports was my idea. The thicker metal, the thicker rubber, all that stuff was all my design. It was all my processing. And then the name of the company was called Salakian Plastics in Fresno. And I did some work on one of the engineers' trucks at the time.
You broke up just a scotch on the name. Go again.
Salakian Plastics.
Okay.
That's the name of the company that makes Slam Specialties bags. They used to make wheelchair parts, and they made bags for like a jack, almost like a jack you put under a car and lift it up. Mm-hmm. It was an airbag jack. And so I bagged one of the main guys there. I bagged his Astro van for the extra weight of his wheelchair lift and everything. And while he was there at my shop, we got to talking about building bags that were specifically designed for vehicles, not designed for something else and then used on vehicles. So the idea we came up with was a Slam bag. And so over a 6-month period, we designed and tested and built the first 2 bags ever and put them on one of the trucks I had at the shop. And we tested that truck up to 650 PSI the first night we had it there.
Holy shit. So what, you just kept, obviously until it blew, you just kind of kept loading it up? Yeah. Or what were you guys doing?
Yeah, we just, we had the bed off the truck. We had the bars on the links. This truck was already one of my fastest trucks already. So all we did is literally swap out the bags and kept turning it up and filming it and turning it up and turning it up and turning it up until the regulator wouldn't go any higher, and it maxed out at 680 PSI. And we could pancake the truck 2 feet off the ground with one click in 2000.
And you were just using like a Parker manual, or what were you using?
Yeah, just Parker valves, Parker half-inch valves is what we were using. That's all I used back then.
Quarter-inch
line and
yeah.
Parker valves. So the next morning we loaded the truck, we put the bed on, and they went home and they printed out a whole bunch of flyers, and we went to Santa Maria in 2000 or 2001. I can't remember exactly. It might have been 2000. Went to Santa Maria, and we took a bunch of trucks, and then he drove that truck 3 hours to the coast on those bags. And then we debuted him at Santa Maria car show with those bags on it at 650 PSI and just blew everybody away.
Yeah.
Literally.
So you're literally the R&D for Slam Specialties.
Yeah. I've been the start. I was the start of that company from day one.
I'm thinking you could have probably started 100 companies because of all the bracketing, the bags, the way you're setting up these, NBS trucks. You probably kick yourself in the ass all day long, but you keep moving, you keep grinding.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you've made a name for yourself out there. You had clientele everywhere. You're meeting people. You're shaking it and baking it. What ended up happening with that initial first shop? What happens with Sisco's Customs?
Sisco Customs in the middle of Sisco Customs growing, my ex-wife decided that the guy that worked for me was a cooler guy than me.
This is the biatch?
Yeah. So she divorced me after being in business for 1 year because I worked too much, and left me for the guy that worked for me.
This is the one other guy that's with you?
Yeah.
Your buddy?
One guy in my shop. My buddy. The guy that we hung out with every day.
So he's the dickhead and she's the biatch.
Yeah, so...
well, this one's for you, not for them.
Yeah. I'll take a drink to that.
Yeah. Swallow it.
Yep, so he still worked for me for about 6 months after they were together.
And you knew that, or what? You knew that, or you didn't know that?
No, I knew that. They couldn't get rid of him because if I fired him, he said he would sue me or some shit. I don't even remember. It was so long ago. So I lived at my shop. I lived on the top of my office in my shop, and she lived in my house with my car and my kids and all that good stuff. And I just worked myself to death, and just became single for a couple years. In the meantime, my shop grew to be hugely popular. I moved into a 10,000 square foot building. I had an accessory shop. I was doing all the lowering and lifting for all the local dealerships. I was doing custom auto repair for the insurance companies that most body shops wouldn't fix shaved tailgates or roll pans or shaved tail lights. So I cornered the market on that with Geico and Farmers and Allied and all these companies were sending me stuff to fix all that. So within a year of her leaving me, I had 15 employees, including 2 secretaries, a parts man. I had a 10,000 square foot shop plus a yard. We were busting trucks out in 3 days, full back jobs, body drops, full chassis. At 26 years old, I was making close to $60,000 a month.
Yeah, you were doing good.
Yeah, until my partner decided to embezzle a bunch of it and not pay the bills.
So at this time, when you got divorced from her, you end up picking up a partner for Sisco's Customs.
For Sisco Customs, yeah. I took a partner in, and he ran the accessory side of the company and paid all the bills and ran the business side while I ran the shop side. And he didn't do a very good job of running the business side and put me about $200,000 in debt and then walked away.
As you think you're just kicking ass.
Yeah, I thought we were just killing it. So, yeah, he walked away, and I stuck in with about $40,000 in bills that he had signed paperwork on, which he paid off immediately with his new wife that had money, and she paid all his bills off, and I was stuck with about $150,000 still. No power in the building, customers pulling their cars out, all my employees had left. I was finishing cars in my shop by myself with extension cords from the building behind us. And then a guy walked in, a young kid, about 22 years old, walked in, said he wanted to partner up with me in the shop. I had a good thing going. He wanted to help out. Well, I was in a bad mood, and I said, no, I won't partner anybody anymore because of this, but I'll sell you the company. So we made an agreement, drew up, went through lawyers, and I sold him Cisco Customs, and I worked for him for a year afterwards to show him the ropes. And then he ran it into the ground, and I left and went to a restoration shop that I worked at when I was younger, and got out of the truck world completely for 4 years.
C10 Nation, we love our vintage trucks for their style, but those stock gauges are just old. When you're ready to freshen up your cab with the latest and best instrument system out there, go with Dakota Digital. They've got multiple styles available in full digital and analog with plenty of options. VHX comes in a few different colors, whereas the high-tech HDX series lets you pick your own colors anytime. Damn, son. There's even an app so you can set it up with your smartphone. Talk about rad. Integration with OEM or aftermarket EFI systems is no problem either. Available modules make new instruments basically a plug-in affair. Want to add power locks, cruise control, and LED taillights? Dakota Digital has what you need and a whole lot more. Their website is packed with electronic accessories to bring modern features to your classic truck. So hit them up. It's dakotadigital.com. I guarantee you'll love them. dakotadigital.com. C10 Nation. For over 16 years, truck builders continue to choose AccuAir suspension for their air management solution. Today, that choice gets even easier. Endo CVT by AccuAir. CVT. Compressor, valve, tank. Takes all of the components that previously needed to be pieced together and integrates them into an all-in-one, easy-to-install unit. That means an internal compressor with a built-in air dryer, smart sensors to keep everything running smooth, valves in the tank caps, and a plug-and-play harness. The best part? Silent. Library silent. No more buzzing compressors. Finally. Are you ready to choose the latest and greatest in air management? See it and try to hear it for yourself by heading to endo.accuair.com. That's endo, ENDO.accuair.com.
And I left and went to a restoration shop that I worked at when I was younger, and got out of the truck world completely for 4 years.
So you're restoring on what? Like classic cars, 55s, 32s, whatever
European.
The old man wants?
European cars.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Jaguar, Bentley, Rolls-Royce, Bugatti, Delahaye, Aston Martin, stuff like that. So
classics like 60s, 70s or older? You know, I mean, what are you?
30s, 40s.
Oh, really old.
30s,
okay.
40s. So the shop I was working at was a really, really high-end shop, Pebble Beach stuff. So he hired me to come in and said, hey, since you ran your shop like shit and you learned all your lessons, I want you to come run my shop and let's take over the world. So I said, okay. So
yeah, but hopefully he says it nicely. I mean, like not like a dick.
No, I mean I've known the guy for a lot of years, and we had bad blood when I quit the first time because I quit to go work for somewhere that was making more money. Well, in the time that I had been off doing my own thing, his company grew exponentially to like millions of dollars worth of stuff. So he said, I'm getting too old for this. I want you to come run the place. Let's do big things. So I said, okay. So he gave me a salary, and he said, let's build these cars. We're going to Pebble Beach. We've got a money guy that is unlimited funds. So it doesn't matter how much we spend as long as the car wins. So for 4 years in a row, I was on the podium trophying at Pebble Beach with the highest, the best of the best Super Bowl of car building. And
of Euro style of Euro style.
Yeah, it was if you can win at Pebble Beach, you can win anywhere. It is the most detailed version of building a car, detail-oriented, like I've ever seen in my life.
Did you have fun doing that?
I was traveling the nation to just to look at cars to build them for stupid things. It was crazy.
Did you enjoy that?
I did, to a point. It got to where I didn't want to research these cars that I didn't really want to build anymore. The research of each car was so excessive. Like, I would have to go to Peterson Museum and go downstairs, and I'd have to go to all these museums and look at these cars that are one-offs, and then I would have to modify, because as I was running the company, I was also the main fabricator, so I had to build everything that wasn't there anymore or didn't exist. So I would have to learn every building style of each coach builder throughout the 30s and 40s, whether it be Ferrari, whether it be Delahaye or Jaguar or, Bugatti back in the day. I would have to learn all of these different styles of building to build these parts of these cars that didn't exist anymore. And so I learned a lot. I learned so much about building and detail-oriented stuff working for that shop that I would never regret ever working there ever. So but it got to the point where I really wanted to build trucks again. So
this is like 100-point, very detailed, the highest level. I forget that guy, his name, kind of older guy. He got silver hair, mustache. It's like Chasing Cars, I think is his name. Real cool guy.
Yeah.
He goes around to those high-end Euro shows, knows every little detail about these cars. That style of clientele is who you're interacting with?
Yes, exactly.
Muffy. Muffy.
The money that was being brought into that shop was just ridiculous. We had a customer that we were building a car for. Well, we built about 4 cars at a time for this guy, but during Pebble Beach would be like a Detroit type of build for a hot rod scene, going for like the Riddler.
Mm-hmm.
So going for this is like the same thing. The cars are multi-millions of dollars to build. So
yeah, I think that's a good comparison for the audience. The Riddler Award, obviously the highest of the highest. So you're saying the Pebble Beach, between that and the Catalina wine mixers that you were going to, you were building the highest end Euro style cars, and you were on the podium every time.
Yeah, we podium 4 years in a row. And so this would be, if you win at Pebble Beach, you are the best of whatever that vehicle is. We never got first place because it's very political. The show is very political, so we always got second. But we didn't always have the second place car.
Yeah, I mean that's if anybody knows, that's like everything. I mean, unfortunately,
it is. But I learned a lot, and I approached my boss about wanting to get out of it and start building cars again, or trucks and stuff. And so at the time I was building that black 72, the black one. That's the black 72. Everybody knows the black 72.
No, 72. So you can't just jump from going from Euro to the 72. I mean, you've got to I understand you're going to just jump to it, but for the audience, the 72 is it's probably what Brandon's first and foremost known for is this truck. So the 72, I actually posted it today because I knew we were going to do the interview, and I love that truck. I remember it was on the cover of Sport Truck, and I think it was even on another magazine. But how does this happen, though? You've got to tell us how you go from, the Bugatti Pebble Beach Country Club Catalina wine mixer place to you building the 72. There's got to be a few little bumps and bruises and things that happen in there.
Yeah, well, going back to whenever I sold the company to the guy that bought it from me, the day I walked out the door when I quit, this guy walks through the front door of the office and says, "Hey, I'm building this truck, and I heard about, Brandon and his metal fab stuff, and I want him to chop the top on my truck." And the guy that I am quitting from called me back in, and he was like, "Hey, man, just 2 more weeks, just knock this chop top out, Give me a price, and I'll tell him, and then I'll give you, half the cash. And I was like, well, I could use the cash, so all right. So I go out there, I'm thinking about the truck. I don't have the truck there. I'm just looking at another C10 I have out back. And at this time, I'd never chopped a top in my life. So I'm looking at it, and I go, okay, I price it out. And before I even tell him the price, I doubled it in my head because I didn't want to do it. So to say the price was $1,500, I said $3,000 or whatever the number was at that time. I don't remember. So I told him, and he was like, all right, when can you do it? So at that time, I was like, great. Now I'm stuck at this shop again while I already got another job at this other place working. So he brings the truck in. I started the shop on it. I dissected it in pieces, like I do. Being a collision background, people always trip out on how I chop things up because I take everything apart at the seams, and I don't just take a sawzall and cut shit off. So I take this whole thing apart. At the time, the truck had already been bagged, and the bed had already been shortened partially, and the tailgate was leaned forward and tacked in at like a 17-degree angle. And so standing back looking at the truck, I was like, man, that chop needs to lean forward like the tailgate does. So I cut the skin off. I started chopping all the things forward. I tacked it all together. And then it just came to me, like that way the truck looks just had to be like I made it. I got the chop all done, and the truck sat in that guy's shop for a couple months after I got done with it. And then he approached me and wanted me to finish the truck for him at home. So the whole time I worked at
the shop owner or the truck owner?
The truck owner.
Oh, okay.
So
and that's Jude, right? That's his name?
Jude, yeah.
Okay. So Jude takes it to the shop that you sold. You chop it, yep. But some work had already been done, like the tailgate and the way they link, because that's pretty advanced stuff. That's, obviously I always think of David Neal's truck too. But so Jude, you and Jude are buddies. He's like, hey, I want you to work on this thing.
Yeah. So at the time I was working at the restoration shop. So I took the truck home and put it in my garage, and I worked on it a little bit here, a little bit there. The whole 4 years that I worked at that restoration shop, I was building this black truck.
Oh, see, now I know why you were just going to jump into the black truck. I'm like, come on, you can't just jump into the black truck. So the black truck, you've already jumped into it. It's part of who you are for 4 years.
Yeah, it was in my garage for 4 years working on it, bare metal.
So is this guy like, is Jude like, dude, what's the deal? Like, are we going to get this done, or are you guys like good? Like, you just keep coming up with more shit?
He pretty much just said, make it how you would make it if it was yours. He wasn't even a car guy. He was just doing it because the truck was given to him, I think, by an uncle or a dad or something, and he wanted something cool to give his daughters when they grew up. And so he just kind of let me have carte blanche with it. He said all he wanted it black, and he wanted it low.
Can you imagine the black truck being driven by a 17-year-old girl?
Yeah, it never happened. I don't think she ever drove it.
Yeah, no, nobody hardly ever drove a thing. I mean, that's, okay. I mean, we digress, but that's pretty funny to think what that ended up, and then to think that, that he wanted to, or his goal was to have one of his daughters. So did he have money?
He had decent money. I mean, he wasn't rich, by no means, but I built that truck for like $25 an hour.
Do you know how many hours you have in that truck? I've always wondered that. I mean, the amount of, sometimes, you've got so many hours in all these builds that you've got. How many hours in the black truck?
I don't even, it's got to be in the thousands. There's no panel unmodified. I ended up rebuilding the entire chassis. I rebuilt all the link bars, all the front end. I ended up redoing a whole bunch of parts of the bed, all the interior, the chop, the hood, everything was completely redone, and we finished it for a show in Costa Mesa for the California Truck Jam. I actually used my interior guy at the restoration shop. I used my paint and body guy at the restoration shop, and one of my mechanics. So I ended up finishing it in my garage using my guys from the shop to help me finish it up, and took it to Costa Mesa for the very first showing. that was crazy is the meantime of building the black truck, I don't know if you know the orange and silver square body that I had too with the trim on it.
Is it orange on top?
Yeah, it's two-tone. It's like orange with silver in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that truck was in my old shop too at the same time. And that customer got a hold of me, found out I was building that black truck at home. So he called me and said, hey, I want you to finish my orange truck since it's been sitting there for 8 months and nobody's touched it. So I grabbed a tow truck, went down there when the guy wasn't even at the shop, and pretty much stole that truck out of my old shop and took it home. And so I finished that one at my house too. So I finished both the silver and orange one and the black one both at home at the same time.
And you're single? That's still?
No, I had met Missy at that time, and we weren't married yet. Or maybe we were. Shit, I don't know. She's going to kill me, though, if she hears this.
Well, nonetheless, you're with Missy now. It's just easily, absolutely, because here's how she's going to hear this, the best thing that's ever happened to you, without a doubt. Yeah. When you factor in, honestly, when you factor in the ex and you factor in all the other bullshit and the partner that freaking wasn't paying his bills, thank God for Missy. That's all. That might be the title of this whole podcast episode. Thank God for Missy.
She has fed me through this entire thing to the point of, I'll tell you this, okay, this is what kind of girl she is. When I met her, the night I met her was after the guy had taken all of my, not paid any of my bills, left me all in debt. I sold all my cars. I sold all my equipment. I worked for this guy that bought my company. I worked for him for $300 a week.
This is the kid. This is the 22-year-old kid?
This is the 22-year-old kid that I went from making what I was making, having 15 employees, to getting paid $300 a week cash to work for him. So you meet her that night? I met her like in the midst of all that.
Oh, okay.
Like I didn't have a car. I didn't have a house. I was living in my ex-girlfriend's apartment. And she didn't even care. She didn't know who I was. She didn't know that I didn't have money. She didn't know anything. And we met a night on a night that I wasn't even going to go out and she wasn't going to go out. And we just happened to meet up. And I knew all of her family. We'd grown up around each other our entire lives and never met. And so it was just like, that's what happened. I can't even say love at first sight, but it was pretty much like that. Like it was a one-night stand, literally, that never ended.
Ooh, I like that. See, now she's good. Now she's going to be happy that, we talked about she's easily the best thing, and it's the one-night stand that continues on. So you meet her at the club, you meet her hanging out with some buddies. What are you guys doing?
Met her at a club, and we were dancing and making out, and then my pickup line was, my roommate left me, can you give me a ride home? And
which was true.
Which was totally true. Which my roommate happened to be my ex-girlfriend, but whatever. So she took me home, and I invited her upstairs, and the rest is history. That's
good, dude. That's good. It's all good, right? It works out. It's still the gift that keeps on giving. So
and she turned out to be big time into cars. She'd never been to a car show in her life. I took her to a couple of runs. She fell in love with it, fell in love with the people, fell in love with everybody, and just pushed me on everything I ever did and supported me through everything, all the way to the point where we moved in together, and I was building the black and orange truck in my driveway and in my garage. And with all of our kids, I mean, we have 6 kids together total. She had 3 girls. I had 2 boys, and we had our little boy Boston together. So all 6 of them, plus us, working at the restoration shop. I got her a job at the restoration shop. She was doing all the books and the office work for the company. So we worked together, and we lived together 24 hours a day, and we rarely ever fought. There's only a couple holes in the wall here and there. But the kids all grew up fine. We had toy hauler, and we had bikes and quads, and we went to go to the coast all the time. And at that time, she wasn't working. She was just being mom, because that's a full-time job with all those kids. So So it turned out good. Like, I went from about the bottom of the barrel as you could get when I met her, and she helped me build back up to what I became.
I mean, I like to say it, from the perspective, it's nothing, groundbreaking, but the same. My wife, I mean, we couldn't do what we do without amazing women supporting us and being behind us and letting us be who we are. It was funny, in Canada, I interviewed Lucas Ford and his wife, from the episode prior, 107. She's like, he wouldn't know what to do if he wasn't being him. And I think that's a cool thing, that Missy knows who you are, she sees who you are, and she embraces that and gets the best out of Clyde, Brandon, Cisco.
Clyde.
I'm going with Clyde, bro. I'm going with it.
So when I met her, like I said, I was at the bottom, and I worked my ass off, and I worked my way out of that hole while working at the restoration shop, and I paid off everybody. I paid off all the taxes. I paid off all the suppliers that we owed money to, like $100,000. I paid all these people back. Never bankrupted on anybody. I just worked my ass off to get through it. So worked those 4 years at the restoration shop. She ended up getting pregnant with Boston, and went on maternity leave from the restoration shop. So she was at home, and we had just moved into a new property with a shop on it. And this is when I was talking to my boss about wanting to get out and build cars, build custom trucks again. And so we had a talk, and I ended up quitting the shop to go on my own. And the black truck and the orange truck were my coming out trucks. Like, those were the ones that I was going to put out there to let everybody know that I was back. I've been out of the scene for 4 years, 5 years, and now I'm back. And I couldn't go back with the name Cisco Customs because I sold the name, and the guy kept the name. He kept paying the money every year to keep the name, so I couldn't get it back. So one of the things was, when I had Cisco Customs, everybody used to always say, hey, take it to Cisco's, go to Cisco's, talk to Cisco's, blah, blah, blah. So me and my wife came up with, hey, let's just call it Cisco's. The shop was just called Cisco's, and then underneath it was just fabrication and custom bodywork. So we made up new cards, got a new business license, got everything all done. I was about 2 weeks into my newfound company at my house with a nice shop. Had the 2 trucks there, had a line of customers out the door, and the tragedy hit, so to speak. I was in town that day back at the restoration shop, helping out on a Cobra that I had started when I worked there, just helping the guys out, finish a few things. And I get a frantic phone call from my wife saying that the shop is on fire.
So your back of your house is on fire?
The shop is separate from my house by about 20 feet.
Yeah, so I mean, a separate building, outbuilding is on fire.
Yeah, I have a 40 by 60 shop, full of tools, full of cars, and it's on fire. So obviously I throw everything down I'm on, and I jump in my truck, and I'm 30 minutes away from home to the country. So I'm hauling ass. I have a Yukon XL lifted, and I'm doing 120, 130 as fast as I can go, watching the smoke the entire way. There's
no fire department? I mean, I'm a fireman. Let's go, guys. Well, what are they doing?
You would probably understand this being a fireman, but we lived in a dead zone of cell service where not even their radios would work. And there was a point where somebody called the first fire department, and they showed up. This is a perfect storm. This whole thing is a perfect storm. So the first fire department shows up, and it's just a truck with a service bed on it, and they thought it was a grass fire. So they're like, hey, this is a structure fire. We need to get a tanker out here. So a few minutes go by, and a tanker gets there, and the tanker has not been filled with water. So then by that time, CDF shows up, the forestry department shows up, and they start putting spraying water on it, but it's a metal roof building, and all the doors are shut, and the fire is in the attic and not inside the shop yet. One whole wall is on fire. Long story short, a lot of miscommunication between everybody, and the shop burned to the ground.
And the 2 trucks are in it?
No. Luckily, the black truck was at my other shop, my friend's shop. We were getting ready to repaint it. We had scuffed it. We were getting ready to clear it. So the wheels were in the shop. The grill was in the shop. All the trim was in the shop. Everything else, all the exterior parts of the black truck were inside the shop. The orange truck was gone. It wasn't there. There was 3 other customers' trucks in the shop, and all of my equipment, and 6
tools,
quads,
all your stuff.
Yeah, so 6 quads, 3 dirt bikes, a golf cart, a toy hauler was next to it, all that. So everything burns to the ground, and no insurance. My insurance was signed sitting on my desk in the shop, not turned in yet. So I pretty much lost everything that day.
You can't make this shit up, dude.
No, it was pretty bad. So first thing I did was gather my resources and got a hold of the guy obviously the owner of the property we were renting from. We were on the lease option to buy. He shows up and is devastated because he had just built that building. Like when I signed paperwork to move into the house, the shop wasn't even built yet. Like it was that new. So he didn't have insurance on it either, on the structure. So I told him, I said, I'm going to pull all this together. I'll take care of it. We got insurance money from all my tools and all my equipment. We used all that money to buy all of the materials to build the building back. The church I was going to, everybody donated all of their skills. And we, over the course of 7 months, built the entire shop back to the way it was before it burned. I rented a bay from a shop from a friend of mine in town, and I still finished all the trucks and stuff I was building at the time at his bay. The restoration shop I worked for, he told me that I could come back and work for him at my full labor rate of my shop as a subcontractor. So he paid me the full $75 an hour to come back and work with him on cars there if I needed to. And our church paid for our house payment and car payments for 2 months while I was doing this. And within a year, I was back in business back at my old shop.
Did they ever say, just being the fireman, did they ever say what happened?
Yeah, we know what happened. I don't know if my sons are going to listen to this or not, but my middle boy, which was 9 years old at the time, was playing with a lighter in the field next to my shop.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Caught the grass on fire, which caught a couch on fire, which was leaning up against the shop, which caught the shop on fire. So that's kind of a sore subject. Yeah,
that's a shitty deal. I mean, I remember getting my ass chewed for doing the same thing, and then I end up being a fireman. But the tanker not having water is tough because that thing should have had water. The flatbed is understandable because that's what does come out. But I'm sure, just for the listener, if you're in no man's land, there's county islands, there's no hydrants. There are dead spots. Here in Arizona, it's called the reservation, where we're spoiled because our system in the city. But when you go to the res, you literally get directions like go to the burnt house, hang a left, look for the dead dog, hang a right. You'll see the fire by then. Come on in with your water. Don't worry about taking a hydrant because there aren't any. And sounds like this suburban area that you're in, or rural area that you're in was kind of the same.
Yeah, we were between 3 mountains, and so it was just a really weird. The whole thing that started it was we had been complaining to our landlord about ants getting into our well, into the pump switches, into the contacts, and our pump kept shutting off. So this happened in the middle of her trying to put the fire out when it was still a little grass fire before it even reached the building. It was just a little patch of fire about 10 feet across.
Those fucking ants, dude. That's why they call them fire ants, bro.
Yeah, and so the hose kept shutting off. So the well kept shutting off. So she kept running back and forth trying to turn the well on and hit the breaker, and that's when the fire caught the couch, which caught the building, and just moved on. But it was, like I said, it was a perfect storm of every possible thing that could go wrong went wrong at that time. So that put us pretty deep in the hole. But like again, the landlord came in after I got done building the shop, opened the doors for business, moved all my cars back in, all my equipment back in, and gave us a 30-day notice to move out.
Holy shit. Okay, so your church, everybody helps rebuild it, and now this dickhead is telling you to move out?
Yep. He gave us 30 days to move out. So we moved back into town, got a new house, rented a shop in town, which I didn't want to do. I wanted to have my shop on my property. And then just continued there for the last 4 years before I moved to Arizona.
Dude, you can't, I mean, like, this is Jerry Springer shit, dude. I mean, the ex-wife, you know, the way we started it out, the freaking, the cloud, I mean, the partner embezzling money, now this landlord who you guys, your church, the labor, now there's no recourse, or are you just like, fuck it, I'm not going to deal with this?
I've never even dealt with, there's just so much stuff. I mean, I've left out a bunch of stuff. There's stuff in there. I mean, there's the time, you know, everybody knows Pony's Cadillac.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody knows that car. Nobody knows the story behind it. I'm not going to get into it too much, but I'll just say when that car went to SEMA, the day it left for SEMA, I was homeless and I had no vehicle. We lost our house and we lost our Suburban for non-payment.
So this is the next house.
Yeah, this is the next house. So I finished the car on my dime. Lost employees over it. It was a bad deal all the way around. I mean, it turned out good at the end, but at the time, I didn't have $1 to my name or even money to get to Vegas with the car. So I drained gas out of a customer's car, borrowed my daughter's Honda Civic, and drove to Vegas.
You borrowed somebody else's gas, is what I'm getting.
Yeah, we took it out of a Jeep in the shop. So,
oh my God, Missy is a saint, dude. The shit that is, I mean, this is it's just bad luck. It's literally a lot of bad luck. Because some people, I mean, it's crazy that to hear you say some of the stuff. Because I know a few guys that for every bad luck thing happens to you, good luck happens to these guys. I mean, you know, the guy that just like literally falls in a pile of shit and he's like, look, there's 3 gold bars underneath this poop, you know, or, you know, it's just like, so to hear some of the shit that's going on with you and it doesn't let up.
See, and that's one of the things about me is I'm kind of like that guy. Like, I will have a lot of bad shit happen, but I have a lot of good shit that comes out of it. So I'm never too worried about it anymore. Like I used to kind of when I was younger, but even my ex-wife used to tell me, hey, you're like the unluckiest lucky person I've ever met.
Oh, fuck, dude. This shit's crazy. I mean, you have to get tired eventually, or you're like, all right, I got it. Thanks. I'm learning, you know. It's like, all right.
That leads up to why I'm at Barrett Jackson now.
Well, let's go back to Cali, right? I mean, how do we get from Cali to Arizona? Are we going to go to Barrett right now and then come back? Because I got to find out how you come back to Arizona.
So this whole time I've been with my wife, we've been driving back and forth to Arizona to see my family for, you know, family stuff. So every time we came here, she loved it. She just absolutely loved Arizona, loved the people that we met here, met all the club members that I knew here, all the car people I knew here. She just loved it here and always kept saying, we're going to move to Phoenix. I kept saying, I can't move the shop there. So a couple years later, we get a phone call from the landlord at the shop that I've been in for 3 years now, whatever. And he says, I sold the buildings and the new owner is moving all of his companies into those buildings. So you have to move, but you have a year. So we made the decision that we were going to come to Phoenix, and then we had a year to do it. So I stopped taking work in, because at the time I had 25 cars in my shop, 4 employees, and I said, you guys are not going to come to Phoenix with me, I guarantee it, and I'm not going to take all these freaking cars with me to Arizona. So I stopped taking in work, and we just finished every car one at a time until I got rid of 6 bays that my buildings I was renting down to 2, and also employees. So I got down to just 1 employee, 2 bays, and then when the time came to move, we packed everything up, came to Phoenix, found a building, moved in with my brother and sister, and stayed with them for a couple months while I got my shop going, and kicked ass here for a couple years until I just got tired. Built a crew cab for SEMA that almost killed me, had a heart attack. And I was kind of done after that. So
not only am I a fireman, I'm a paramedic. So what's this? I did not know you had a heart attack.
So I didn't know I did either until my second one.
Yeah, you're way too young to have a heart attack.
Yeah, well, it's not a health issue one. I guess it was a stress, which you can see by building a SEMA truck in 90 days. I lost my body and paint guy. I had to hire somebody else to come and help me do it the last 30 days. Stuff was real stressful. The customer was being a very difficult customer to the point where I was losing vehicles again and almost lost my shop, kind of a deal. Just got tired of that kind of stuff happening. And my wife actually saw a post on Facebook about Barrett Jackson looking to hire a fabrication guy. So she tagged me in it. She said she thinks it would have been good for us.
And you listened?
Like I always do. I went and talked to the guy, and he said I was overqualified for what they wanted, but he would get back to me. So about a week later, he got back to me and said, all right, what are your plans with the shop? Because I know you have customers in there, I know you have cars, and you weren't planning on shutting your shop down tomorrow. So I said, well, let's do a part-time deal where I'll work for you, 20 hours a week, and we'll see where it goes. In the meantime, I'll gradually get these vehicles out of my shop and, finish off my lease and cut ties. And so I did that for 6 months without telling anybody. And when it came time, I moved all my equipment over there. They hired me on a full-time salary and absorbed Sisco Fab into Barrett Jackson. And they let me do what I do without all the headache. I don't have to deal with customers. I don't have to deal with money. I don't have to deal with anything other than going to work in the morning, doing what I do, and going home after work. I got my weekends off. It's kind of strange working a 40-hour week after working 12-hour days for 20 years. But I'm getting used to it.
Yeah, it's I almost think it's got to be a major adjustment because you seem to be the type of guy. Now, you're the type of guy that lives off that 100 hours, a week. It seems like it. Now, obviously, I say that, but you've had cardiac issues, heart attacks, cardiac stress that really can fuck up a guy. The cardiac tissue doesn't just heal.
Yeah, 1 month into working at Barrett, driving back and forth an hour and a half each way every day, plus trying to get the customers happy in my shop, and the torment of back and forth with the customers, and then the nice work when I get to Barrett, and then the shitty stuff I had to deal with when I got back to my shop. It took its toll on me, and I had what I thought was some pretty bad chest pains on the freeway, and I went to work. I was worried about it, so I called my wife, told the guys at work, and they said, "Hey, man, that's pretty bad. Like, what you're saying isn't a good thing." So they made me go to the hospital, and they admitted me at the hospital for 2 days for that. Went back to work, and then decided to cut it off early at my old shop. And I talked Barrett into letting me take, what was going to turn into GHOESST. It was just a pile of parts at the time. Take GHOESST to the shop and another customer vehicle to the shop, and finish them there on my off hours, and just get rid of my company completely. So I did.
So this is about a year ago. Did I lose it again? We dropping, the Haboob is kicking our ass. This is some crazy shit, man. This guy, freaking Brandon, man. It's a lot. I can't even imagine being 40.
There you go.
Yeah, we got you back. All right, the Haboob kicked in. So this is about a year ago is what I'm thinking, because you started GHOESST, I mean.
No, it was 2 years. 2 years ago, last month, is when I started working at Barrett.
Oh, wow.
And I've been there for 16 months full time.
Okay.
So GHOESST started out as I cut the body, cut the chassis, put it on there as a roller, and then moved to Barrett. I took it with me over there, and then I was supposed to work on it on my off hours with the customer paying me directly, kind of like a side job. But I just never got the free time because I was burned out. Like, I did my 8 hours a day, and I wanted to go home. I didn't want to stay and work on anything anymore.
Understandable. I mean, not only from the health perspective, but somebody goes as hard as you go.
Yeah, I'd never known any other way. I'd only known the way I worked was the only way I knew to work. That's the only way I knew how.
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, so for Barrett, you're working your 8 hours. You're overqualified. They give you the job. You're working your ass off. You're still obviously working hard for 8+ hours for Barrett. What are you doing for Barrett? What is your job?
I'm kind of a glorified bracket maker. Right now, Barrett Jackson Speed Shop, Barrett Jackson Garage / whatever, started out as just a mechanic shop that did a little weird work on Craig Jackson's cars, a little bit of work on cars that are coming through auction that need some work done, and a little bit of work on cars that we sell out of the showroom that customers want to either fix some things or they want to upgrade. So they started getting more and more requests for more extensive modifications to these cars in their shop, which the mechanics that were there didn't have the skills to do. So, like, the first thing I did when I started working at Barrett was a roll cage in a finished 67 GTO. $200,000 car, fully restored car that the owner wanted. The new owner wanted aluminum radiator, wanted some stuff underneath done, and wanted a full cage inside the car without taking the car completely apart. So I had to build a cage inside a finished car, interior and all. And then the customer was super happy with it. So that's like one of the things. We do a lot of brakes. We do LS swaps now. We're doing Coyote swaps. We're doing air ride on cars. We're doing full suspension changes over from, older stuff to more modern stuff. So it keeps getting more and more extensive, the work we're doing there. But the shop is still very small and very new. So we needed something to do that was big when they bring out the new shop that's coming up about the first of the year. So I approached GHOESST owner, Jason Ellis, and I said, "Hey, I don't have the time to work on your car after work, but I'm kind of slow during the day, not doing anything." So I said, "How about, instead of paying me to work on your truck now on the side and taking forever," I said, "how about I give you to Barrett as a customer. You pay them. I get to work on it every day. You get your truck done faster, and I still get my salary, and everybody's happy."
This is cool because I had no clue that you're working for Barrett by putting GHOESST together, and yeah, this is cool shit. It's cool for Barrett too to let you do it and the way it all went out. So they knew what they had. overqualified bracket maker who can't pass math, but is an amazing builder. And I mean, I'm joking, obviously. I mean, that's just cool shit. Yeah. And that they took care of you, and he obviously accepted it. So this is cool shit.
So as of May 2017, I had been doing very minor stuff at the shop, little spurts of stuff here and there, but not a whole lot of work. It was kind of nice. I was being relaxed. I was gathering back up my drive to do things. So GHOESST came into effect right at the right time, where I felt like I was kind of needing to do something. Like I needed to build, I needed to fab something up. And I approached the owner of the truck of GHOESST, what are you going to do for a chassis on this thing? Because I need to build the floors, but I need a chassis to build the floors. So he goes, well, it's probably going to have another place, do the frame. And I said, well, I can't build the floor without a frame under it, so let me do the frame too. So that's when I got to talking to Scott and everybody over at GSI, and they said, well, are you taking it to SEMA? And I was like, well, I never thought about it. So they said, well, if you do a SEMA build out of it, we'll give you a pretty good deal on this chassis. So I got to thinking real hard that night, and it had been 3 years since I'd built a truck for SEMA. So I called the owner, let's put some stuff down on paper, wrote up some stuff for him, and I said, hey, I think we can get this thing done for SEMA, and I can have Barrett Jackson behind me with my connections and with their connections. I said, we could probably get a good sponsorship thing going on with everybody. What's your budget? So he gave me his maximum budget, and I said, obviously I can't reach that. Just kidding. But I said, I'll come to that budget as close as I can. And he goes, all right. So we made a deal like May 13th or May 14th to build this thing for SEMA. So I got a hold of Travis, Travis Pruis, CTP.
The man,
the myth, the legend. He does all my renderings, always has. I probably got 15 renderings from this guy. So he came up with a rendering. This thing was going to be red with tan interior. And the first line drawing he sent me the first drawing was red with tan interior. And we looked at it. I changed a few things with the bumpers and the trim. And then we decided to change a few things on the drawing, decided to soften it a little bit more, stuff like that. So he drew a new rendering and drew it on white paper, white drawing, or just line drawing on white paper, and colored in all the chrome for the bumpers, colored in all the chrome for the trim, colored in all the red for the lights and all the good stuff, and sent it to me to okay the line drawing. And I fell in love with it white. So I sent that. I took a picture of it, sent it to the owner. I said, hey, man, what do you think about making this thing white instead of red? And he goes, I wanted it white because he has a bunch of two-door Tahoes, OBS Tahoes, and they're all white. So he goes, I wanted it white, but I thought it'd be like a wallflower. It would kind of just blend in with everything. I said, well, let's do white with a super bright red interior. And so I had Travis draw it up like that, and the owner okayed it. And I said, okay, it's on. And we released the rendering, and then I started making phone calls, and I made my song.
Hi, Missy. We were not talking about you at all.
Liar.
Oh my God, your ears are burnt off by now. Are we allowed to talk about fire? Too soon. Sorry. Let's not talk about. They weren't burnt off. They were. Yeah, we were talking about you.
Fire's bad. Don't talk
Fire's
about fire.
bad. Fire's very bad. Oh shit, that's cool. Well, she should sit in and she could add all kinds of funness to it. So if she's got the time, we've got the place.
Yeah. Yep. So on GHOESST, we came across a whole bunch of cool sponsor people. I don't even know them all. There's so many. I think I set some kind of record, for as many sponsors I could get for SEMA. But I totaled about $87,000 in sponsored parts.
Wow, that's a lot of sponsorship.
That was a lot of sponsorship. I was working every angle I possibly could. So we got we got a lot of stuff from a lot of good companies I've been using over the years, plus a couple new ones. One of the good ones that Barrett had a big hand in, probably 100% hand in, was General Motors, giving us that motor and training and wiring harness and computer and everything, that the LSA. That was a huge deal. So I said, okay, well, take your budget that you have, the number we came up with, and divide that up by like 4 months. And that's what I'm going to need a month to finish this thing off by the end of September, or the end of October.
Yeah, I want you to build my truck next. I mean, shit, $80,000, and I mean, this is a good deal for everybody. This is really, I mean, it really adds to the Ghost. We see the Ghost, we don't see the story behind it. So this is cool shit. And the sponsorship, I'm thinking they all won because the Ghost is a winner.
Yeah, I knew that I had to get the sponsors that I was getting, because the number that he gave me was his bottom, was his maximum he could come up with, and that was going to barely cover the build, the labor part of the build. So all in all, Ghost has about $250,000.
It's a lot.
So people want to know how much is in Ghost, and Ghost is a $250,000 truck.
Well, I mean, it's one of one. It's the interior. I mean, how many awards have you won? It's unique.
It's awarded. Everything I've taken it to, it's got an award so far. Yeah,
from SEMA. Kind of a corny, thing, but it was picked as my favorite of SEMA 2017. That and the Duke. So I think I gave it like the best tool drive in my walking around SEMA and interviewing you, and we did do that for Facebook. But it's a special build, and to know that it has the story that it has. It's really cool. I'm really my hat's off to Barrett, because this big company is toying around with this other stuff that, whether they have any business doing it or not, they're doing it, but they're taking care of you, and then everybody's winning, and it's kind of a neat thing, because there's a lot of shit that you've dealt with, and now whoever this boss is, or whoever at Barrett is who gave you the job, whoever you're selling, some of this, this luckiest lucky is starting to come through a little bit in the fruition of you getting ahead. And it's good to hear. I mean, I'm sitting here like I said, Jerry Springer's on the phone. It's like, Jesus, how much bad shit can happen to one guy? If it wasn't for Missy, dude, I don't even know, man. People would be running away from you.
Ronnie, just let me show you pictures of his ex-wife and ex-girlfriend, and you know how lucky he is.
Dude, she can be Christy Brinkley. I don't even know, Ella or whatever. This woman, he needs to watch the Hot Wife Matrix. For the audience, if you haven't the time, give yourself about 8 minutes and watch the Hot Wife Matrix on YouTube. And not only will you laugh, but you'll realize real quick that there's some crazy shit going on. But you came into town, jumping back. You came into town and you had well, there's so many different ways we can go. You come into town,
Go both ways?
Well, I will go both ways now that Missy's there, but you don't tempt me. You come into town, you come into the PHX, and you had what you started, and this is right, I don't know when you guys moved here, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you had the crew cab dually, and that's where we started to really kind of know who's this Sisco Fab guy. And that was where, and then it wasn't just that. Then we had the red crew cab sitting on the.
Yeah, the red one was first. That was 2014.
Oh, okay. So the red one comes, and then the crew cab dually comes. Now the red one, I know there's some drama llama ding dong, which by this time myself and or the audience is not going to be surprised. But you have established yourself at this point as somebody who can do some really rad shit, and obviously a 4th door and a 4-door conversion, because people are doing, Suburbans, and they're leaving the third door, which there had already been a few of those. There hadn't really been any fourth door that looked right, and you did that. And so you came into town screaming. Classic Performance Products, CPP, has a few new products out. Let's start with their new Hydra Street Beast Hydraulic Assist Systems. CPP's Hydra Street Beast is a direct fit, high-performance hydraulic brake assist system that works great when running a performance engine setup and there is not enough vacuum produced to operate a traditional booster. Simply plumb into your power steering system and share the fluid reservoir with your power steering pump to your high-performance brake system. Assembled with all new parts, this unit puts out an amazing 1800 PSI at the wheels. How about their new 14-inch big brake kits? CPP now offers a 6-piston, 14-inch big brake system for your Chevy truck, featuring 2-piece pre-assembled drilled, slotted, and zinc-coated rotors, 6-piston billet aluminum calipers with DOT-compliant dust and weather seals, premium stainless hardware, and braided stainless brake hoses. These brakes work with their modular and Corvette-style spindles. Remember, use C10 Talk at checkout and save 10% off your order. Damn, son, 10%? www.classicperform.com. Hey guys, I've been buying my truck parts from brotherstrucks.com for over 20 years now. These guys just aren't selling parts. They build trucks. They have their own trucks. They attend shows. They're part of our community. I saw Jim Flanders at C10's in the Park in Texas and also at Dino's Get Down out here in Arizona. And that's why I continue to buy my parts from Brothers. One thing I remember Jim Flanders saying when I interviewed him for the podcast: when we buy parts, we buy the best parts possible so that you, the consumer, will get the best parts possible. Sure, they have the opportunity to buy a lesser made, lesser quality part, but they know that it's going to you, the C10 Nation. So when you buy your parts from brotherstrucks.com, rest assured you're getting the best part possible. So when you're looking to restore your 1947 through 87 Chevy or GMC truck, go to brotherstrucks.com. That's brotherstrucks.com. There hadn't really been any fourth door that looked right, and you did that. And so you came into town screaming.
Yeah, I've always been, since I opened my shop or even started doing stuff, I always took on the stuff that people said couldn't be done, or saying, you can't do that, or that'll never work. And those are my favorite builds, or the ones like that. Even going all the way back to when people say you couldn't make airbags hop, or when people were saying you couldn't lay, 22s on a full size without cutting the bed, or, if you do anything, if you do it right, or you could, even back then in 2000, I was the first one to body drop a 99 to 2000 Chevy truck to the doors. I took it to the doors and only had 300 miles on it. And we showed up at a car show, and there was another body drop truck there that Master Image Customs had built, the eyeball truck, which was a red. It was before it had eyeballs on it, but it was all red, and it was bodied. And then mine was to the doors, and that's when I met all the guys from Down to Earth. That's when I met Kudo and all those guys. I was in the realm of them taking brand new trucks and cutting them to the doors that nobody else would do. And then in 2000, I was the first one to ever put an Escalade front clip on the new body style trucks when they first came out. I know I was the first one because I took one off of an Escalade at the dealership when I got delivered and put it on, and nobody had even seen the Escalade yet. I was within a week of it being at the dealership. My buddy over there pulled some strings and got me the front clip off of the Escalade at the dealership, and we put it on overnight and went to a Laughlin River run the next day with an Escalade clip, and people tripped out. They've never even seen the Escalade delivered yet. They only sent one Escalade to every Chevy dealership in the nation, and we took the clip off of one and put it on a truck the next day.
Well, and that's right, for the listener, that's right when Escadinale came out, right? The Escalades weren't really, Cadillac wasn't in the SUV business until the new body style. The old body style, there was no Escadinale, It was just the NBS, and it was a really round front clip compared to what you see now.
Oh yeah, the first Escalade, people were doing those conversions already. I had done a few at the time, taking the Escalade conversions of doing them on the NBS or the OBS, and then when that NBS came out, I just saw a picture of an Escalade in a Reader's Digest magazine or something, and I had to have that front clip onto a truck, and so as soon as it showed up at the dealership, my buddy, the parts guy over there, gave it to me right away, and people didn't even know what it was. Those big giant square headlights, and everybody thought it was hideous. But as soon as I did it, then there was coming out left and right after that, because everybody wanted the newest thing.
So are you saying they did have an OBS Escalade? Because I'm thinking of the round NBS, but maybe the round NBS that I'm thinking about is considered OBS style.
Yep, the 88 to 98 body style had an Escalade. See, that's the first one.
Okay, yeah, I got to pull this up. I got to see this thing. Not seeing it there. So you, I mean, especially with this. Oh yeah, it pulled up 98 Eclipse Escalade. Escadinale. Yeah.
Escadinale.
Yeah, Escadinale. Yeah, there you go. Cadillac DeVille. That's not what I need. Cadillac SUV, because I can't spell Escalade. Oh, yeah, see, that's the round to me. Okay, so the OBS is, oh, see, that looks newbie. Oh, it does have the flat headlight. Yep, okay. Yeah, I always look at the door handles. That is definitely.
The NBS had the big square headlights that nobody liked. Yep.
Yeah, well, they've carried that on forever now. It's just kind of funny how that works out, but for sure on the new body style versus, yeah, which is funny how they change that shit. But so
yeah, I always like doing the stuff people say that you can't do, and that crew cab was one of them. The owner of the truck wanted a crew cab because they didn't make one, and he wanted it to be on a super sport truck chassis that he had already. So I took a lot of the cues from the super sport trucks and built it into that 71 body style chassis, or the truck body, like the body cladding. The SS trucks of that era had a plastic body cladding that stuck out wider than the body and hung down below the rockers 2 inches. So when I built that crew cab, I actually had Bob Grant make me door skins with the body kit made into them. So I designed the profile, sent him the profile of what I needed, and he sent me up four door skins, and I sent him a profile of the rocker I needed, and he made me 4 new rockers. So that truck actually has extended body width and lowering by 1.5 inches wider and 2 inches lower than a regular C10.
Which, when you look at it, you don't see that at all. I mean, you don't think that those mods have been made, which is, I mean, I'm trying to think exactly how Foose makes the quote, but he says, make it like GM didn't make it, but make it look like GM made it, or make it look like the auto manufacturer didn't make it, but make it look like if they would have made it, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Botching the quote, but
that ties all back into my style. I have that style that people keep telling me that all my stuff looks too factory, but it's super custom, even though it's really factory. I mean, Ghost is a prime example of that. It's been underestimated that most of the good guy shows I've taken it to, because most of the judges were thinking that it was a factory truck. Even at SEMA, everybody thought it was factory. So I had to try to explain to them that my vision of that truck, of Ghost, was if GM back in 1967 wanted to build a hardtop version of their Blazer, and they built a concept truck, and it never got okayed and never got built, and it just sat in a barn somewhere at GM, and one of us customizers nowadays found that truck sitting somewhere, found that body, and did all the modern stuff underneath, did their little take on, LS swap and some custom interior into that body, and put it out on the street. Like, that's what I was going for when I built Ghost, was to look like GM built it and then one of us guys nowadays customized it, and it turned out exactly like that. I have not yet, unlike every other build I've ever done, there's always been guys that are like, oh, it looked better with this, or it looked better like that. I haven't got any of that yet with this truck. Everybody's like, the biggest compliment is that it's just so proportioned so well, and it looks so factory that looks like GM built it. Like, it's the biggest compliment to hear people say that it just looks perfect. Like, everything about it just looks perfect.
Without a doubt, and if anybody had any shit to say, they can eat a big fat juicy one, because I would love to have a conversation with a guy sitting around talking shit about GHOESST, because it is exactly what you said. It is exactly like if GM and the designer, and it's cool to kind of go full circle. What did you want to be? I wanted to make clay vehicles. I wanted to make these vehicles. Well, now instead of making a clay vehicle, you're making the real deal. And I remember talking to you at SEMA in our interview on our Facebook that we did. The one thing that really got me about when you talk about the body lines, and we could probably have a whole episode of Sisco Fab and GHOESST, just the topic alone, but was the way that you did essentially the B, I'm going to call it the B plus post, because it's not just a B post, meaning the door, the back of the door, but it goes into the full, the full flow, or it's a really big B post. But the way you did the curvature of the glass lines and how you took that from the back and the way you flowed that really, to me, brings that full hardtop GHOESST together that way.
Yeah. The whole hashtag, don't call it a blazer. That's the
I love that. I do that on purpose.
That's the only argument I've ever had with anybody on that truck is the blazer thing. And just so everybody knows, there is no blazer parts on it. There's no blazer measurements. Nothing measures from a blazer that matches that. There is no dimensions. The wheelbase is different. The body lines are different. The doors are different. The roof is different. The glass is different. There is literally not a single blazer part on it. So when people argue with me about it being a blazer, I would rather them say it's a Suburban, because technically it still is a Suburban. That's what the registration says. But I call it a Tahoe just because I can't call it a Suburban and I can't call it a blazer. So I throw the Tahoe in there because it's just a short Suburban. And so that's the biggest thing is that's the only argument I've ever had. And I almost do it for a joke now.
Oh, for sure.
Because it just makes people talk about it.
Well, the back door is rigid. It's not cut off because it is a hard top. I remember you saying the wheelbase, because it's extended back because the owner was really tall. And so you've extended. Yeah. So if you look at where the B post of the door closes to where the front of the wheel housing is, that's a shit ton more than an actual blazer. A blazer is very short between the tub, the beginning of where the back door, where the front door closes, which is the B post, to where the beginning of the fender well starts. On the GHOESST, it's the opposite. You've switched it where you have a shorter bobbed end, rear end, and then you've got a greater, I don't know that. I mean, what is that thing like? Is it almost like 22 inches?
Yeah, I finally measured against the blazer not too long ago and found out the actual dimensions. And the quarter panel from door opening to taillight of GHOESST is 3 inches longer than a blazer. So the actual quarter panel itself, the whole truck is 3 inches longer. And then the wheelbase is 7 inches longer. So it's got the wheelbase of almost the same wheelbase as a short bed pickup.
If you guys haven't seen the GHOESST, we're going to post it. You'd be like under like some rock. So the one thing about the GHOESST though, and we still need to hit like 10 other trucks, but I hope Missy's standing right there, but you guys, wait, dude, you're like putting the thing together as you're driving to Vegas.
Yeah.
I hear this great story that I didn't know about. Like, Barrett Jackson's letting me do it. I'm doing it. I've got the owner on board. I've got Barrett Jackson and my company and my boss on board. And so now that's where I'm really thrown off, because as a spectator and a fan of what you do, I'm like, dude, you're like, it's on the trailer in pieces. And I literally I envision Missy driving the truck and you on this like open trailer, like assembling this thing as you are driving like up the 93. I mean, I literally felt exhausted for you as you put it together. But again, the Sisco way, you did it.
So the story behind that is corporate Barrett Jackson did not know I was building this truck.
There's always a story.
Yeah. So the story is corporate Barrett didn't know that I was building it for SEMA, or that I was building it at all. When the owner, whenever Craig would come into the shop, he thought it was just one of my little side projects that I was working on after hours or whatever in the corner of the shop that just took up a bunch of space and made it to where I couldn't work on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he called it Frankenstein and the primer junk in the corner, whatever it was. And so he didn't really. My manager Jeff kept corporate's nose out of my business for this entire build, because he knew they would try to inject themselves too much. And with my time frame, he knew that if they did that and slowed the process down, that it would not get done. So he kept it under wraps until 2 weeks before SEMA, when they got done with the auction in Vegas. They all came back from auction. They were gone for 40 days. And while they were all gone at auction, I had completed the chassis, assembled it, had all the interior done at another place, finished all the body and paint, and was assembling the truck when they came back. And they didn't even know it was the same truck. So then Craig and his wife came to see the truck in Vegas at SEMA. They took the little entourage, came over, looked at it, and were blown away by how awesome it turned out and how fast I did it, and were irritated that it wasn't in their booth at SEMA. So from that point on, it's been, with all of the press that it's got and all the good juju, they are behind it 100% and have decided that's why it's gone to do the Good Guys Tour, and it is now eligible for Truck of the Year. And they've been behind it 100% since SEMA. So now that it's eligible for Truck of the Year, we're hoping we win it. And they're very happy that the first full build to come out of the shop, the new Speed Shop garage, will come out winning Truck of the Year. And that's a pretty good accolade right off the bat for their no shop.
Well, I doubt Craig Barrett's going to listen to this, but that's Sisco Fab. That's you. I mean, I think it's cool that they supported you, and that's cool because you work for them. And they know what they have. I hope they do, and I think that's pretty rad. Nonetheless, that thing kicks ass wherever it goes, because, I mean, who's the guy? Who's your boss? What's his name? Steve? Jeff. Dude, Jeff's the man.
Yeah, Jeff has had faith from day one.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's sticking his neck out there. He's hiding it. He's helping you, which puts him in a vulnerable spot. And again, everybody's winning right now. The truck's winning. The Ghost is winning. Sisco's winning. Brandon Sisco's winning. Clyde Brandon Sisco. Everybody's winning, and Barrett's winning. So really, they took the gamble. Jeff took it. He made it happen. Everybody's winning. You made something for the owner under budget or within budget. Sponsors are winning because it's kicking ass. And really, everything is coming together because you're building something people told you couldn't build.
Exactly.
So I'm going to tell you right now, you can't build me a crew cab 72 4-door AC 4-wheel drive short bed for $40,000. You can't do it.
You're probably right.
Orange and white, two-tone, 72. You can't do it. Roll it on 35s with a 12-valve Cummins. You can't do it.
You need to stop because I'm not.
You can't do it, Brandon. You just can't do it. Well, let's go back. Okay, or let's go forward. So GHOESST is just killing it. Now you've got another project for 2018 SEMA already. It didn't take long.
Yep. It's it's kind of a known crew cab. Well, I can't really call it a crew cab. It was only 3-door at the beginning, but it's a truck from back east that a lot of people know about. Brandon, everybody knows him as Twitch, owns the truck now. He's had it for 5 or 6 years. And C10 Resto on Instagram. And he commissioned me to do the 4th door in it about 2 years ago, before I even went to Barrett. And it was going to fly me out to Florida. I was going to do the door in it for him, and then he was going to have it built and have the rest of the truck done and all that. So, 2 years go by, and I never had the chance to go out there. He decides, hey, I'm just going to bring you the truck, bring you the cab. Once you do the 4th door, then I'll stay with you for the week at the house. You knock it out, and I'll bring it back home. So he brings the cab, truck and trailer, brings the cab out to me. We get to talking one morning, and it turned into a SEMA build. So we went over and talked to Scott over at GSI again. GSI, they said, yeah, we can do you a chassis, the first C30 full chassis. It'll be X amount of dollars. It'll be ready in a couple weeks. And he said, well, you need, and they said, well, we're going to need the rear end and this and that. And so he left his truck here. He jumped on a plane the next day, flew back to Florida, rented a truck and a trailer, loaded up the bed, the front clip, the rear end, all the wheels and tires, and drove all the way back across from Florida back to Arizona again, dropped everything off with me. We took over to GSI, made the deal, and then he jumped on a plane and flew back to Florida again and left me with the truck and said, I want you to make it a roller, put the body on it, get the motor in it, get all the wheels and tires on it, and sheet metal the firewall, finish the 4th door, do the sheet metal bed, and I'll take it from there. So I talked to my boss at Barrett again, and he said, go ahead, let's do this. Let's keep our name out there with the sponsors and our name out there with people at SEMA. And since we're not physically building something in the shop, because you don't have the space for it here, just finish it at the house. And we'll run it through as you're doing it for Barrett. And so that's what we're doing. And I got full backing of Barrett behind me on everything on it. And it should be going home next Friday, and the paint and body and interior. So it'll be the first Cummins-powered, bodied, full chassis, dually crew cab on 24s.
Yeah. I mean, I've been watching you, and you doing what you're doing. I know you just pulled that Cummins. What Cummins is it out of? What year? Is it 5.9?
Well, this one is just a mock-up motor we got. This is a 24 valve, okay. But what's going in it is a 12 valve that's getting built by, kill me, I can't remember the name of the company. There's a company in Colorado that's doing it. It's going to be compound turbo, about 1,000 horsepower.
Sweet. Yeah, this thing's going to be legit. Shout out to Scott, dude, Nick, the boys. I mean, GSI, Scott's freaking love that guy. Yeah. He's like the big little brother I never had. I love mixing it up with him. Some reason he makes me ornery, but it's in a good way. And Nick's building his truck, which is obviously got a Cummins in it, yep. And they partnered up with you on GHOESST, and now on the crew cab. We go back to when you moved here. We go back to the red SS, which the thing about the red SS truck that kind of got me was the way you did exactly what you said. You did the SS, the bumper intake that they kind of had on those SS trucks, and you made it a 4th door. Then you had the crew cab. You made that a 4th door. I remember watching you, the crew cab dually, the one that's what is it, C10? I think it was like C10 Source owns it. He's had a few different Instagrams.
Yeah, I don't know whatever happened to it. I know Daryl Daryl Coates? Daryl Cody owned it here in Prescott.
Oh, because he bought it, right?
Yeah, and this other guy bought it from Daryl and said he was going to get a crew cab built into, or get the fourth door done. So Daryl gave him my number and said, hey, this is the guy I was going to have to do it. So the guy called me, and then instead of driving the truck home, he just dropped it straight off at my house or at my shop, and I did it for him then. And in the meantime, we ended up cutting the back of the frame off, building a whole new back half. We put some tubs in the front, put some Cisco hinges on it, and then I delivered it to him all the way. His shipper backed out last minute, so I loaded up on my buddy's trailer and I drove it all the way to Monterey from here for him, dropped it off for him.
I mean, such killer builds and very unique builds, and like you said, you're doing. I mean, dude, I love the 6772 trucks, and I love the crew. They didn't make a crew, you make the crew. That's why I bought Yellowstone, because I wanted a crew, and 73 was the first year they made a crew, and that's the first square that I've ever owned. And I think you got me fired up. I mean, I'd love to have a 6772 crew, but that's a lot of money and a lot of time. You've cut a lot of beds. You've made a lot of long bed to short beds. You've made a handful of crews. You're helping CTP, which go back to your rendering man, and Travis has been on the show. Travis is an absolutely, as good as he is, he's great as a person. He's just an amazing man, amazing person. They don't make him any better. You've helped him.
I'd consider Travis one of my best friends.
Oh, the dude he's such a good dude. He's absolute. I mean, again, for the audience, CTP, if you haven't heard it, I'm going to throw a shot in the dark, say he's like 77, 78 episode. The guy's got lineage to C10 for, a long time. He is absolutely one of the best. He's building a C50 style crew cab. He got such a cherry bourbon. And ironically enough, you're gonna totally just cringe at this. When he bought that bourbon, I had sent him another bourbon that a friend of mine had. He actually got it from Porterbuilt, and it wasn't as nice as the bourbon that he got. And then you said, "Hey, dude, just stay with a really nice bourbon. That's going to be the way to go." That bourbon got crushed today.
Oh.
Yeah, my buddy I said, send me some more pics, and I was like, we can just drop it off here. And then he sent me a pic, like being a dick. He's like, oh, you wanted more pic? Here's one, and it's being lifted off of the thing. So it didn't have a front clip, but it did have the 4 doors, and it had, what it had that I told the guy, I go, dude, you're being such a dick. It had the because I'm not a big fan of the barn door at all. It had the gate, and I was like, you freaking, I was pissed about it. So I'm trying to look here. Travis Pruis was 3 dudes, 1 truck. I'm trying to match my numbers here. I don't have all my numbers. I don't have it here, but Travis Pruis was on the show last October, looks like, or August. 74. Shit, I think that might have been what I said. So you and Travis is working on a crew cab right now. Do you... Yeah. You're such a good dude. You're not going to, and I'm not looking for drama. I don't want it. But, our tech, I've had our tech, Randall. He was episode 22. I've had him on, and I'm getting ready to have Metal Fab, Metal Ox, which is Kyle, C10 Acres, who's made just a kicking ass of making long to short. But you're kind of one of the pioneers. Do you ever feel like you don't maybe get as much credit for, doing these crew cabs and... especially the crew cab. Especially the 4-door, making a 4th door, whether or not you and Randall kind of give each other a hard time. I know I've told Randall, dude, back in the day, I'm like, well, you need to check out who the Cisco guy is. And I think you guys have probably, are cordial or friendly or, but do you ever feel like, hey man, do I get enough love for this, for doing what you do?
I like to bust Randall's balls because, I think I've got more on the road right now than he does. Crew cab. But
I about spit my beer out. Holy shit. Oh my God, that's funny. Randall.
But
holy shit. That is pretty funny. Cause he posts them up, And he's got amazing renderings, but yeah, he's got the Duke, and then he's got the Cowboy, and I think that's what he's got, the Duke and the Cowboy.
Yeah, that's exactly. And I've got the one I'm doing right now is my 6th one. And then if you count Travis's, that'll be 7. And then there's another one in the works that I can't say anything about yet.
Oh,
so
kind of goes with your first name or what?
Yeah, it's a secret one.
Is it local?
Nope.
All right.
So me and Randall talk a lot. The biggest thing is I don't feel real competitive because I like being one of the first guys that do stuff, but after that, I don't really care.
Okay.
Randall obviously had the first one with his green one that I'd seen.
Yeah.
And that truck was cool. I've seen a handful of them. There's been a lot of people that have tried, and there's been a lot of people that have been successful one time. And Randall and I are the only 2 guys that I know of so far that have attempted anything after the first one. And that's props. Like, there's probably a good 10 crew cabs out there in the world that people have finished and they look good, but every one of those people have said they would never do another one. And so props to Randall for attempting to do more and finishing them more, because him and I are the only ones that feel like that we could do that again. Most people say, no, ain't gonna happen. It was too much work. I'll never do another one. And so it's cool. It's cool that there's people like him and I that are like, yeah, man, let's do another one. Let's go. Let's do another one.
Well, and that's probably why he only has a few on the road, because and now he's doing a 60 to 66 with, I think it's called the Ponderosa. But yeah, the amount of labor that it obviously takes, and Travis and you, and I mean, you guys Travis is absolutely making it look easy for his SEMA 2018, big car hauler.
Cool.
But
he's done the easy part. Just ask him.
Yeah. Oh, I give him a hard time. He says it's smoke and mirrors, but he's being bashful, and he's not taking credit. But I know you guys are cranking on it. I know he's working his ass off on it, and so you've got a couple crews on the out there. You've got plenty of long to short beds. You've got the GHOESST. You've got so many different builds that have your name, your touch, your spin. Whether it was somebody watching you and copying you, what's next? You're just checking it off. Missy says she's next. What's going to happen next?
So SEMA 2019 is already underway.
Okay.
It's going to be collectively my first SEMA build for myself, which isn't even for me. It's for my wife, but yeah. I can still consider it for me. I'll be doing most of the metal work, showing her how to do some of it. I'm sure Boston will get involved too. I've got some crazy ideas for the sheet metal, obviously, like I always do. I can't even release the rendering yet because I don't want to be copied, obviously. So she's going to be an all-girl, as much of an all-girl build as possible, and garage built. So it's going to be built here at the house, almost 100%, and built mostly by girls through the scene that specialize in certain, their little, their fields of expertise.
Okay, so it's going to be. I can tell the audience it's going to be a square body. That's my bold prediction.
Yeah, it'll be a square body side.
Yeah. So, square body step side. I don't think I knew that. So, square body step side. It's going to be built by the Chicas. I think at times, she's posted like silly boys or something like that, which is always funny. Now, I would say, and I'm assuming you probably already have, both of you, but Bogey was on last year before SEMA, and she and her girls killed it on that Tri-5 truck with the BMW power plant. So yeah.
I was involved in a lot of that.
Okay, cool.
I actually went over and did some work on it here and there behind the scenes, and then Missy actually works for Bogey right now at her shop in Phoenix.
Yeah.
You guys
So
have
I'm
so many
hoping-
stories. There's layers with you guys. With the Siscos, there's layers. So it's always like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go right to the black truck. It's like, whoa, hold on. It's like, oh yeah, now I find out it's been 4 years, and then it's like, oh yeah, well, Ghost was built by Barrett Jackson for this. Now I find out Missy's working for friggin' Bogey. I mean,
Yeah.
dude,
I work down with her 1 day a week, helping her in the office. Hoping that will extend to a lot of the girls that help on her project have never done anything like that before. A lot of them never even touched a car, and we're so excited and had such a great time that we will be reaching out to them again. I think it's addicting, and once they do it once, they want to do it again. So I'm going to just let them go for it. I put it out to them. I put it out to the FMTA with the female mini truckers. Christina, the Caddy Queen, has started a welding class. I told her she's got 1 year, and she's going to get her ass out here and do some work on it. And hopefully I can follow kind of in Bogey's footsteps and get more girls working on trucks and cars.
She totally just hijacked my podcast.
I did.
did you expect? I mean, this is perfect, but honestly, for the audience, it's cool because first of all, you started off with a bang with the name because her name's Missy, so the C, yeah, MISSC_10, so Miss C10. She's got a square body step side. If you're gonna have a recipe and you've got Chef Clyde Brandon over here, and then you got another recipe and you got Bogey over here, I don't know that this cake war can go wrong. I mean, you really have some amazing things going on, and kind of a little sample of what we did with the one and done and the Dino's thing with Rio. That was a lot of fun.
We're to spit that one of those up again. I've already talked to Dino, and hopefully get that all going as well. I'm already on board with GSI to build my chassis. I'm going to talk to those guys. If I can get any kind of activity or day like the one and done to get more girls doing it, done. We'll do it.
Cool. I know my wife, she was running around with the kids that day and they got there late, so she would love to do it. I'm gonna charge GSI for this episode because there's a lot of GSI love on this one. But which is kind of funny, but so, I mean, okay, I'm looking at it. We've been going a solid 2 hours, plus we had a half hour on the pre-show. I got to hit a couple of them here, Brandon. I really do. What, let me look here. We talked a little bit about Artec, giving him a hard time. Who's a builder? I think, well, first of all, to me, the story, I just listened to Chip Foose. I'm going to try to get him on because he's got a C10 right now, but he was just on the round 6, which is just so many good guys. Stubsky's on it. Brian Stubsky's kind of the main host, which is Problem Child Custom, who does most of the artwork for Dino. And Brian does an amazing job. So they just had Foose on. They know each other. And he talked a little bit about his C10, but I'd really like to get Chip on and talk a little bit more and expand. But your story is amazing to me at the CAD, the shop teacher. You know, now his dad owned a body shop, but you're like, do not take this the wrong way, but you're kind of like the struggling Chip Foose. I mean, a lot of guys out there are going to look to you and are going to do things, you know, from a perspective of the hard way. They're going to stumble. You keep doing it, but I mean, like you said, you're the luckiest guy. How have you been compared to Chip Foose? I mean, to me, that's the compliment. Yeah. I'm saying some of the unlucky shit, and you're the poor man's Chip Foose, but I want you to hear that I'm complimenting you because you know that I'm a fan of not only you but your work and obviously your family. But dude, you've done some amazing shit. Have you been compared to Chip Foose before, or do you and Chip know each other?
Yeah, I've always thought that my style kind of mimics Chip's style since I was little. I've always have. I've just always liked how his super trick stock looking stuff just blows people away. Like most people don't even see the little things that he does, the finite details. Just changing a line here, moving a thing here, it will just change the whole aspect of how the vehicle looks. And when you look at it, you don't see anything wrong with it, and you can't see what's been changed, but you just know it looks better. It's just one of those things that when you stand back and look at a car, and you can just see the things that are off. So if you change that little thing a little bit, move something like what he does, like that's always been a big thing to me. And actually, the first time I ever met Chip was when I was building the black truck. My wife and I, we went to SEMA, and I was going to talk to sponsors about getting parts for it when it was all in bare metal. I had it in my garage in bare metal, and I had a rendering that I had taken a photocopy of, a black C10, and I took razor blades, and I cut this thing up, and then I taped it, and then I re-photocopied it, and I chopped up this C10 to look like a rendering, and I taped it to a piece of paper, and I had a picture of the truck when it was all in bare metal from the front and from the back quarter views, and I had it in a folder, and I took that with me to Vegas to show sponsors. Never even been to SEMA before, didn't know anything about it. And that was the year that Overhauling was building a car out front in a tent. So my wife and I made it up to the front gate, and I had that rendering with me. And what was his name? Chris what?
Chris Jacobs?
Chris Jacobs came over and was saying hi to everybody, and he had saw that picture in my hand, and he said, "What's this?" And I was like, "This is a truck I'm building." And I was kind of hoping I could get Chip's, input on it. And he goes, "Yeah, let me see it." So I gave it to him, and he took it back there, and I watched him look at it, and Chip was looking around on it, and then Chip came over, and then Mikey came over with Chris, and they were like, "Hey, man, this is a truck you're building." And I was like, "Yeah." And Chip started pointing out every single thing that I had changed on the body. Like, he knew what lines I'd changed on a C10. I mean, I didn't think he would be a C10 guy, but he could tell that I had changed all this stuff. And so he actually signed it, giving me his okay. He's like, "I want to see this truck when it's done." And he signed it, and then Chris Jacobs signed it, and Mikey signed it, and the chick signed it, whatever her name was. They signed my picture of the truck. And so that was super cool to me that he would even do that. And then next time I met him was...
Tell me I preferred him?
No.
I just like how when Missy wasn't there, you're like talking about Courtney Hanson, and now you're like, I don't remember the girl's name, but anyway, some girl signed it.
Some girl, I don't know. So then I don't remember the next time I met him. I think it was 2011 when we took Pony's Cadillac there. And he had a Cadillac that was going to be in the same. He was being judged in the same class as Corolla. I know that it's not like car show, but they still look at cars the same as what they're going to give awards to. And I remember seeing this Cadillac that he had that had these custom rims that had white walls built onto the rims that stuck over the tire. So it looked kind of like it had white walls on it, but they were part of the rim. And I remember seeing the car and knowing that Chip Goose built it, so I was just staring at every aspect I could of it. Well, that Wednesday when we found out that the car had won, we went to Circle Bar at Hard Rock Cafe, and Chip showed up there, and I walked over to him at the front door, introduced myself, and he knew who I was by my name and the car. And he actually asked me for my autograph because he said, "I'm going to be one of those guys that he's going to deal with in the future." And so I signed a piece of paper for him, and I took a picture with him with the autograph. I had it with me, like in my phone somewhere. But and then since then, I've met him every year. Some friends of ours are pretty good friends with him, and so we get to go back to his trailer and hang out. Me and my wife hang out with him a little bit. And at one point, we showed him what an Eiffel Tower was. So I've got a picture of my wife bent over between the two of us as me and him are high-fiving above her.
Oh, my God. We just went. I like this. We just went from PG to, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
The Eiffel Tower.
Who? So with me was going to be like rated X.
Oh, my God. So, yeah. So Chip Foose and Clyde Brandon have. Hey, Missy, when you get really mad at Brandon, what do you like? Give me the when you're gonna yell at him. What do you say? You can't tell her. You just told her. You cheater weasel.
Oh.
Yeah. He's not spilling the beans.
The only time I ever yell when it comes to Brandon is when I say, "Oh God."
Oh boy, back to the Eiffel Tower. That went full circle real quick. Hey, so did Chip look at the Ghost? What did he think of that thing?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I was so busy that week and so tired. I don't really know who looked at it or who did.
Well, he'll see it because when you end up winning Truck of the Year, obviously you guys just won Truck of the Year late, which puts you in the running. So November, we're gonna find out, right?
Yep, I actually find out October 5th, but I can't say nothing until November.
Yeah, because you'll be here. So for the audience, Good Guys ends here, right here in River City, Scottsdale, and so hopefully you guys find out, and that would be a big deal. So a few that I got kind of wrapping things up. What do you want to build? What one car? You've built so many. You got one car, you got one truck, you got one vehicle. What does Brandon Cisco want to build?
Something completely off the wall from everybody would think. But 69 Charger is my dream car.
Cool. Do you watch, what's the Graveyard? Do you watch that guy?
No, I can't really stand the guy.
He is a freaking crack up, dude. He's so funny, he's such a like idiot savant. The guy knows every freaking thing about Mopar.
Yeah. Well, if I did one, the purist of Mopar would hate me because I would change everything so much. But I just have always loved that car since Dukes of Hazzard days.
Yeah. Well, what about that white one that was at SEMA? Did you like that one this year? That white with the green interior?
Yeah, that one was pretty good. And then I saw one at Good Guys in Ohio when I was there I loved. And then my favorite one that's probably the closest to what I would build would be Johan's, the red one.
I do not know. I'm trying to think who that is.
You've got to look it up. It's a candy apple red V12 powered Charger. Its name is it's Johan something on Instagram.
Okay.
It's called Powered by Johan on Instagram. It is the most incredible Charger I've ever seen in my life.
All right, I'll look it up.
It's chop and section and V12 powered, and it's running like 24s. It's got the perfect stance, the perfect paint, the perfect interior, the perfect engine bay. It is unreal.
Okay,
powered by Johan.
Yeah, I'm seeing the paint is absolutely killer. The wheels, I mean, he's got a lot of lip in the back. So you guys can check it out. Powered by Johan. Holy shit, the wheels. I mean, obviously he's got those things jammed in there jelly tight. I like the one, obviously, Fast and Furious, but it's overdone because we see it in all the horsepower. Obviously, a big Dukes of Hazzard fan. I thought the white one, I wasn't the biggest fan of the green interior, but god damn, that white one this year was so, I love that. I do like that he went with a darker green on that, so that was kind of cool. I'm forgetting the guy's name that built it. I looked at it quite a bit when it was there, and then looked at his Instagram. I think I even follow the guy, but I can't remember. Okay, so you'd build a 69 Charger. So, I mean, is that something that you're going to do? I mean, is it really like, hey, you're going to find one and you're going to make it happen? Is that something you really? I mean, because now with Barrett, shit, you got it made now.
It's probably going to be my old car build, like when I get old and I want to build something for myself. That would be my car build. My truck build would be another crew cab, square body, short bed, lifted on 40s. Either Duramax or Cummins powered would be my truck build if I could ever build another truck.
Okay. So square, slope? Square.
All right. I'm not a square guy.
Okay.
I'm not a slopey front end guy. I like the squares.
Square, crew cab, short bed, 40s, Cummins.
Yep.
Yeah, that
Cummins
truck is. Yeah, that truck would be. Yeah, that truck would be I mean, unstoppable. That I always kind of say that's kind of like the best of the best. At this point, we can look back over time and say, well, what's still out there? What's lasted? What's the best? And you could take, a Chevy truck, a crew cab, a square crew, and put that power plant. That would be what you ought to do. Let's talk to Missy about this, but you ought to build the crew cab with the Cummins, with the Duramax, and then you could tow the Charger.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
I drive everything.
Well, I mean, you might have to tow it around a little bit. I mean, that's true. Except for when you're building shit on your way to SEMA, you're trailering stuff.
True. Yeah, when it shows up at SEMA, there's no seats, no glass, no trim, no bumpers. It's not buffed yet. There's no air ride. So, yeah, it's when it's sitting in the convention center with none of those parts on it the night before SEMA, it's a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, you absolutely. I mean, you look like you had just went, 12 rounds with Ali or Tyson like for 10 days, but you did it. I knew you were tired. And the cool thing is you were still there. Like some guys will just disappear and go sleep, right? But you were there. You were in the All-American Billet booth. You were fielding questions. You were talking to people. And you were doing it really with a smile on your face, and you were tired.
I was very tired. I was one of the most tired I've ever been. Yeah,
I mean, I've seen you rested, and I've seen you, I haven't seen you Eiffel Towered, but I've seen you rested, and I've seen you tired. So I don't want to see the Eiffel Tower. I'm okay with it. I'm just saying.
Hey, I'll send you that picture.
Yeah, send it on over. I'll post it. There you go. Okay, so give me a builder. What builder, if I ask builders and they say Brandon Sisco, what builder does Brandon Sisco look to and say, I like that guy, the way he builds. I like, well, besides Foose, because we already talked about that. Give me a builder where he motivates you to be the best that you can be.
Oh God, I don't even know. I don't pay attention to too many of them. That's put me on the spot. I don't really know.
So many of them.
There's just so many good guys. It's hard to pick one because everybody has their own style. I still look up to Chip. I mean, no matter what. So it's hard for me to pick somebody else because I've never really been into hot rod guy, but I know a lot of really good hot rod builders. And the C10 world, truck stuff, it's hard to pick somebody because sometimes I'll see some really good stuff they put out, and then some stuff I see put out that I'm just not into.
Yeah.
Like patina stuff and cookie cutter C10 stuff. I'm just so not into that.
What about a hot rod guy? Who's a hot rod guy that it definitely doesn't need to be C10.
Yeah. One of my biggest probably people I look up to in the hot rod world would probably be Tim Strange.
Yeah.
The dude is super cool, super down to earth. He thinks outside the box on almost everything. He can work circles around me, and I feel like I work hard. That dude is insane. Like, I worked with him a couple times, and I felt like I was lagging. And I like to work, and that dude just loves to work. But his ideas are just unreal, just far beyond a lot of times that he can't even do them because the customer won't allow it. Which he's kind of like me. When the customer lets you go and have carte blanche, like what you want to do, things turn out to be best by far in everybody else's eyes. And that's kind of how the black truck turned out, and that's how Ghost turned out. To this day, the owner of Ghost has only seen it one time, and that was at SEMA. He didn't really have a whole lot of input other than a few minor things that I needed to do before he got it. But it was pretty much all just, you make it like you want it. I trust your design ability. I trust your concept, and just make it like you would have it if it was yours. And I know I'll like it. And that's how Tim is. Tim's like that too. So I look up to him for a lot of things. We talk, almost weekly on the phone. If I have questions about stuff I'm building, I will call him for input, and vice versa. He calls me for stuff. So it's pretty good. I like it.
Good. I think he'll enjoy that. A great guy. Met him a few different times. Had the opportunity to interview him at SEMA last year for Royal Purple, but I do need to get him on the show. He just revamped that Royal Purple panel that they have. I think it's a 61, and he did a really good job. Really, again, the cool thing about Tim to me is not only Tim being Tim, but, his wife with the Optima stuff, the stuff that they do for the bikes, the stuff that he used to do for his show and how they would give back. So there's always more than meets the eye. There's always more to the story than just a guy who builds really rad stuff. And that's what's cool about Tim and the story of Tim Strange.
Exactly. Tim's just an awesome guy all the way around, no matter what.
Reminds me of this guy up in Reno, CTP, something like that. I can't remember, but
that's some trap guy.
Yeah. So is Ghost going to be for sale? Because that thing's making the circuit. I mean, is that something where that guy if he hasn't really seen it that much? Is that something that
There's a story behind that I can't get into, but
of course there's a story.
He's going to be taking possession of the truck in about 3 weeks in California. And he will be showing it between now and if it has to come back to Scottsdale for the Truck of the Year award, then it'll come back. If not, it'll stay in California and make the circuit on the West Coast for a while. And then just depending on what he wants to do, he has told me that he's very happy that I'm taking it around and showing it so much, because when he gets it back, all he has to do is drive it. So he's got so many nice pictures of it now with all the photo shoots that have been done and the awards that it's won and all the media attention it's been getting, that he doesn't really have to worry about doing that anymore. So he will take it to all the local car shows. He will enjoy it and drive it, and him and his family can go out and drive in it and stuff, him and his kids. Him and his son are actually building a C10 pickup of their own now at home. So that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. I think you built some rad stuff, dude. I mean, for the audience, I've been giving Brandon a hard time. I've even kind of teased Missy. We've tried to kind of get him on. He's a busy guy. There's been some transitions in there. I'm glad that it is now. I'm glad that it's post Ghost and we got to see the Ghost, and you did take time out for us at SEMA and a lot of other people. Some really good interviews that you guys did there, and still to this day I don't even know how you stayed awake the time that you were there, but you did a good job. I look back over this story. I didn't know half of it, and it's just amazing, the trials and tribulations and the journey for you and for Missy and for the kids, for you as a kid. When you look back, what, from a personal perspective and from a business perspective, what is the story of Brandon Cisco? What does it mean? What is it? What do you convey to the audience?
Perseverance, never give up. I never gave up on anything. Some people say that I gave up or sold out going to Barrett Jackson, but to me, I think it was just another step in my direction of where I'm going to be when I even get older. It could be a stepping stone to something else. It could be where I retire from, no telling. But it's definitely a move forward from where I was at, and that's what you always need to do, is just move forward from where you are, no matter where you're at. Just go to the next step and keep going, no matter how slow it is. I just always work through everything and dug myself out of every hole I've ever been in and kept moving forward.
Yeah, one of my absolute favorite quotes is a quote by Teddy Roosevelt. It's called "The Man in the Arena," and you can look it up, and the audience has probably heard me ramble about it a little bit, but the gist of it, because it is a long quote, is just the man in the arena is the man in the arena, and the guy in the grandstanding and sitting there with his ticket and his popcorn is it's easy to say, well, this guy sold out. It's easy to say this guy did this, but he's not the man in the arena, and you're the man in your arena. And to know what you've gone through to get to that arena, or to be alive with cardiac stress with your mom, wives and builds and everything that goes on. It's all about the journey. So to me, the guy in the audience can, again, suck a big fat one. But you know, it's cool because 5 years from now, who knows? You could be working for Barrett on top of the world, being lead fabricator and making a very respectable income, helping your wife build SEMA trucks or other people build SEMA trucks or whatever it may be. And it's the journey that's brought you to this point. So it's the man in the arena. They can say whatever they want, but you're the one in there doing it. You're the one who's lived the battle. And dude, I've seen you in the 5 years I've known you that the battle has kicked your ass a few times, but you're still standing. And you know, I didn't even know about all the stories between the stories and the stories between the stories.
Oh yeah, and I left a bunch of stories out.
We don't have that time. That's Cisco 2.0. That's where he's gonna let us know about his first name. So on 2.0, we're gonna find out about other ones. You know, there's always drama with it too. You know, I know there's been some builds where some guys have kind of, you know, whether they left you high and dry or your business partner, but there's a lot going on. And the one thing, Missy, we did say, and I do mean this because my amazing wife is right there behind these guys, these good dudes, rad dudes, great guys, builders. Is we're lucky that there's great women too. So it's yeah. If you had to make one thing right, I think you did the right one, buddy.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. There's a lot we could talk about business, you know, because you've been through so many different businesses. But I think what you have now with Barrett, I think it's a win-win. I think you're in a good situation, and it's going to be cool to see what continues.
That's one thing I've explained to people too is I shut my shop down not to go work for some Joe Blow down the street with a custom shop. It's Barrett Jackson. You know, it's one of the biggest names in the world as far as cars go.
Yeah.
And so for them to have me there being their main, you know, builder guy and behind me on everything I do, that's a pretty big deal. That's a step up from where I was. So I'm like I said, always step forward, always step up, and it's fine.
Yeah, I think you're in the arena. I think you're the one doing it. It's your life. It's your story. So do what you do. Be happy about it, and be alive. That's obviously a bonus. So
alive is good. Yeah, alive is good.
Yeah. All right, my brother. Well, unless you or Mama's got anything to say, I think we're going to take it out, and we're going to wrap up episode 108.
Sounds good to me.
Let's talk about this right before I cue up this Cisco kid. You did change because you were Sisco Fab, and now you're Brandon _ Cisco 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that.
Brandon _ Cisco 1.
Okay, so what's the story behind that?
Can't really get into it, but I will say that Cisco's Fab name is being retired. So I am now Brandon Cisco and Barrett Jackson. The Cisco Fab name has kind of been overpowering and taking too much credit for the company I work for.
All right.
So I am stepping the Cisco's Fab name down to try to give the people that are giving me the chance they're giving me to give some of the credit for what I do.
Makes sense. I mean, just from what you've told us about the GHOESST and what's going on with the crew cab Cummins that you're building right now, we can put the pieces of the puzzle together. You guys can follow him, Brandon _ Cisco 1. You can follow the journey of Missy. Obviously, with the truck, it's going to be Miss MISSC, so Miss C _10. And then if you really want to get crazy, _ Cougar _ 101. I don't know if that's a private account or not, but there might be some Cougar, so _ Cougar, common spelling, _ 101. And the story behind that is actually a pretty good story because she went for the younger guy, she got him, and he's better for that. At least that's what she told me. So, all right, brother. Well, I'm glad we made it work. 108, and we'll get this out. It'll drop here in probably about a week and a half because I've got your First Ride Friday kicking out, and then we've got we'll follow this up on Tuesday. So actually, I can even look at it here on my phone. Oh, that cut off my music. Dang it! I didn't mean to do that. Let's see. This will drop First Ride Friday, August 3rd, and this episode will drop August 7th. And let me go back to my music because I was on YouTube, which I hate because it does that. So a little more Cisco Kid, a little more War. We're taking him out. Brandon, Missy, thanks for coming in. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah. Let me know on Friday so I can put a post on there too. That's it.
Oh yeah, I'll tag you up, and you're gonna send me a pic of that Dad's blazer, Pops' blazer, and pulling that thing because that'll be the first ride. And then I'll also use your. I think you posted one up where it was like a side shot of it out in the street. I remember commenting on it because it was such a rad build.
Yep. And there's also I got a picture in there of me, my dad, his blazer, my truck, and our Jeep. All three of us standing there too. Perfect. One thing that's cool about this first ride thing, because this is I think you're only going to be the third or fourth one. I started off with myself, then I did Marcel and Jason, and then I had, so you'll be number 3, because then I went to Brothers, and then I did the Canada, which both of those were more of a show episodes. It's fun because we have to dig up like old photos of our cars and some of this stuff. So you and Marcel are a little more alike because Marcel had like 80 cars by the time he was like 14. Who's Marcel?
Marcel Vanderbilt, which is he's part of Auto Rev. He wrote for Street Trucks. Jason Mulligan and him are buddies. You don't know Marcel?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, good dude. Good dude.
Maybe I don't know him as Marcel, but I have to see him or something.
Yeah, because you're buried so much into the shop, so that's what. Yeah. Okay, brother. Right. Well, I'm gonna take you out right here. You guys have a great week, and I'll get this out.
You too. See you later.
Okay, buddy.
Thanks, Ronnie.
See you guys. Have a good night.